Hello, Galaxy. I'm Chris Pirillo, and you've tuned in to another live pre-recorded edition of the Locker Gnome Digital Review. It is a weekly podcast of sorts, a broadcast, a recording using StreamYard, one of our sponsors on Twitch, to bring everybody together, and everybody being a cast of characters. I would say, I feel I could go as far as to say, my friends? Can I say that? I kind of made it official.
I don't know if I go that far.
Okay, because
that feels too much.
Yeah, we didn't have this conversation before.
Give me hope, man. I've been wishing you were my friend since I was like.
Oh no, Jerry, you're my friend. You're
my
friend,
God.
So, see, we didn't.
Thank you, guys.
You know, inevitably, when you're introduced to somebody and they introduce you in this awkward way, like, are they a friend? Are they, a colleague?
More than a friend.
Yeah, more. I don't know what it is. Either way, every week we come together, we geek out, and we do this normally every night on Twitch, just hanging out, geeking out about one topic or another. But for the podcast, we stay focused generally on things that we find helpful or that you might find helpful, new discoveries, tips and tricks. So throughout the entire recording, you're possibly going to learn something. And then we carve up those segments individually and throw them onto YouTube as well. So that's the general format of the show. My name is Chris Pirillo. I've been doing video ever since many people who are watching it were born, and even before then. I'm joined tonight by, we've got Glendon over here. We've got, I don't know which way I'm turning here. So that's Toxic Doom. That's Glendon. We also have Jerry down in San Juan, right?
San Juan, Puerto Rico.
In Puerto Rico. And then we have, or not. We had Mystery Goats.
Half a second ago.
Literally. I didn't even have a chance.
So mysterious.
This whole friend thing is off. I don't think I can handle this kind of friendship. Well, I was thinking, I was worried that Jerry's bandwidth might not cooperate tonight because he's in very hot weather. And I guess Mystery Goat is gone.
Oh,
he's back.
There he is.
Hey.
Wow. Oh my God.
Back up again.
Wow, that was fast.
We're able to work on that phone camera.
It happens. But that's the thing, is at least you know that if you're looking for, this is a little a tip to kind of start us off. We've
have a recording error too.
Oh, you do? Don't worry. Keep it open and let's see what happens. But it's good to know because it still shows you're uploading. I remember last week, Josh also had the error, but StreamYard works so well. And I'm not just saying this because they're a sponsor, but Josh had the same problem, but his video uploaded in totality. So I would not worry about it right now. The phone is probably one of the best cameras that you can potentially attach to your system, period. Like, you can get a webcam, that works, but grab a spare smartphone, Android or iOS, and connect it to your computer, and you're going to have a potentially amazing webcam, better than what you can possibly buy off the shelf. So we're going to begin. I'll start things off showing you my week discovery, or what I've picked up this week, what I got new this week. And each person is going to go around and show what they've discovered or talk about it. And then we're going to roll into our tips of the week, our how-to, our help of the week. So it's good. Like I said, it's going to be jam-packed. And of course, the banter in between, the camaraderie, which I feel we have. The thing I have, and this is actually going to dovetail into what I believe Mystery Goat's going to be talking about, phone cases. And I figured we'd all be talking about our phone cases when we get there. But this is a new one that I got from Caseborn, Armadillo Tech. And it says it's okay to drop your phone. It doesn't say it's okay to drop the case. It says it's okay to drop the phone. See, you got to be careful.
You got to read the fine print.
You do. And I, like many people, I don't read. It's not what I do. The thing that really jumped out at me. What's that? Oh, I thought I heard something. I'm hearing voices in my head again. Oh, no. This is a really good beer.
Cheers, boss.
Yeah, cheers, indeed. Halfway across the world there. Well, not quite, but it might as well be. You're all out of town for me. This case package that they sent along came with 2 screen protectors, which is nice, not just getting one. And the wipes, of course, to clean the screen before you put the screen protectors on. But this incredibly rugged case, like, this is like beyond anything that I might have used in the past. Incredibly rugged case, but the thing that really, like I said, jumped out, all the pieces that came with it. But this belt clip. So this is I've not had a belt clip in how long? I think it was the Pocket PC days. I used to wear. Yeah, it's been that long. No, did I have a belt clip for Windows Mobile? I might have, but I really remember the Pocket PC. That's when I really used belt clips, loved belt clips, have not worn a belt clip since then. But now I didn't even realize until they sent this case for me. This is the case that would go to the Pixel 8 Pro that I've been using. But it's got a belt clip. So again, if you're in the field, right, you need access to your phone, but you don't have a pocket, but you've got a belt, you can now belt clip it. But even without the belt clip, that's not the case itself. It's just the thing the case attaches to, and the case itself is incredibly durable, incredibly rigid even.
You can rig it.
Rigid. Yeah, you could rig it together. It also has this frame protector that goes within the case. So they really, I'm not going to say went overboard, but they went the distance in terms of making it such that, if this phone got damaged, it's a wow. What were you doing with it? Because they protected it top to bottom, beginning to end. So yeah, this has got a belt clip. So I wouldn't mind using a belt clip again, personally. And if I carried the Pixel 8 Pro as a default driver, I'm just saying I might do the belt clip just to, because you don't see people wearing belt clips so much anymore. I mean, do you even?
But you are over 50 now, so I think it's okay for you to wear that.
No, it's okay for me to wear fanny packs are okay. I don't think belt clips are. I don't. My dad doesn't do belt clips.
I feel like a policeman every time I see or buy a new phone case with a belt clip. Lately, like my last 3 phone cases have come with a belt clip, but I end up never using it because I kind of feel like a policeman walking around with my iPhone.
Well, just put your phone on your shoulder. Yeah, we're going to need to get another case over here because this one's not working.
But then my girlfriend pointed out that it's an extra layer of protection. Why don't you use it?
I'll actually be talking about belt clips when I talk about my tips for phone cases.
Well, it's never too late. Yeah, I guess I haven't seen the belt clip in the longest time. I mean, you see tons of cases. There, cases I'm going to say are a dime a dozen. Some done way better than others. And I would say that this particular case that they had sent is on the, I would say, in terms of ruggedness and durability, on the extreme end, which is going to be, so it makes sense. On the extreme end of things, when there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things going around, you need easy access to your device. It makes sense that it's rugged because there's a chance that you're going to drop it and break the screen, break the frame, whatever it happens to be. All the way down to less rugged cases, like the case that I'm using on my Galaxy S23 Ultra, which is my go-to device at this time, is just a Spigen, like a $10 nothing case. Like it's there in spirit, right? It's thick enough but thin enough. It doesn't add that much bulk, and I feel it's provided me enough protection. I don't even have a screen protector on it. I have not put on a screen protector with my.
I'll be honest, I didn't even realize you had a case on there.
Yeah, I mean it is incredibly slim, but that's the way I tend to like the cases that I might be using on a more regular basis. But I don't have the I don't think for this particular case that they had sent, I don't know if I would be the use case for it, right? And I don't think it would work for me. I appreciate the extra protection, and you can certainly use it without a belt clip. But I also look for something that would provide a balance of, what's the word I'm looking for? Slimness and protection. Yeah, minimal. Yeah, I feel that's fair. Minimalism, something that's
protection and style.
But not even style. I mean, I know, and see, that's the funny thing about cases, and I know this is a perfect dovetail to where we're going to be going with Mystery Goat, but I guess, yeah, style I suppose would matter because I don't have anything on the case. I like there's no decor, there's no color, it's very plain, it's very simple, there's no design, there's nothing to it, right? There's no texture at all, and I like that. So I guess that is in many ways a statement in style as it is anything else. So, sometimes you don't think of it that way, but I guess that's true. But yeah, that's
like the most bare minimum protection on there, just so
pretty much
you prevent it from getting scratched and possibly even hitting a hard surface. But you're not going to protect it from big impacts or anything like that.
Well, and we'll probably dovetail that or I'd imagine you're going to dovetail that when we get into your tips list here, tips and tricks, and or things to consider. Which I'm sure we'll all have plenty of feedback, given that I'm sure many of us use cases on our phones. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe one of you all are naked with your phones. So
phone.
Yeah, I did not need to. Yeah, that was like, yeah.
It's like that happens every night, but yeah.
You never know what happens when we get together until we get together, and then it happens. That's my discovery, my new thing of the week, and I'm going to pass the baton, the virtual baton. I won't do the awkward thing of like physically. Here, I can do the awkward thing. I got my Darth Malgus lightsaber blades done into the hilts here. Yeah,
Looks good.
Little Darth Malgus.
They came out great.
Oh no, Darth Malgus came out. Sorry, this is like a bonus thing, but I didn't have. This is the closest thing I had to a baton. That's the Darth Malgus figure from Play Action Toys, printed on the bamboo carbon X1 or X1 carbon, whichever way it is. Got a cape on it and everything. But yeah, it came out really, really well. Glendon,
beautiful, man.
Dude, he does amazing figures, and I love putting them together, putting all the colors together. This is it's a good. This one's yours, Glendon. So I'm when I say I'm passing the baton over to you, this is going because I'm sending you my other beacon mic. So, or my only beacon mic. Your next beacon mic. Here we go. Ready for the. All right, there you go. Now it's on. There we go. Send it. FedEx. It was that fast.
Got it.
CGI it in.
See, if you had planned that better, you could actually have done it where you grabbed it.
Or he had it, and then he virtually. Okay, we got.
Or you just send it. You just send it to him right now, and then
next week we do it.
Maybe
that's right.
If we're lucky. What do you got for us, Glendon?
Well, this week I picked up a new game. I got the new Assassin's Creed Mirage whenever it launched earlier in the week. And so far, it's fantastic. I'm not sure if any of you guys are Assassin's Creed fans. This one goes back
huge Assassin's Creed fan
to the roots, more so than the recent games like Valhalla. You're again set in a Middle Eastern set. It's got some tie-ins with Prince of Persia, so that's always very cool. But yeah, it's a big open world game, easy to get lost in, not literally but figuratively, and a lot of side quests to keep you busy. And of course, you can do the main storyline at your leisurely pace. But the fighting and the combat system seems like it was refined a little bit. The timing aspects of it are really great. Story so far has been good, and I'm probably just 25% into it. So I've got a long ways to go. But it's keeping me entertained, to say the least.
So are there any RPG elements in it?
No.
You said it went back to its roots. So.
It a little bit, but not like it was. If after Unity and
Syndicate,
Valhalla, Syndicate,
I've only played of the newer trilogy that they have out. I've only really played Origin so far, and one of the things that really disappointed me about the game is when you're trying to go to places, I guess it doesn't want you to yet because you're too low level. Where in previous games you just go wherever you want to go,
right?
And that was really frustrating. It's like, if I'm going to do an assassination from the top of a building onto some unsuspecting dude on the bottom, down below, I should be able to do that.
Yep.
I shouldn't have my level interfere with any of that. So that was really frustrating. The game's still fine, but yeah, it's frustrating. So I'm happy that they've gone back to their previous style.
Yep. Yeah, I appreciate it as well. It's definitely harkens back. And I didn't realize, but I think it's already been 15 years since the first one came out. So they're celebrating their anniversary for Assassin's Creed games.
But were there shows made around Assassin's Creed? Like movies?
Not that I'm aware of. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that
there was an Assassin's Creed movie.
Yeah, there was a movie.
Yeah, but a show.
The movie was The movie was all right.
Yeah.
They've done some comics.
Yep.
And I feel like they did an anime. I could very well be wrong on that. There's a bunch of side games too. Like there's some for the DS and one of them that was on the PSP was remastered, I should say, in HD for PC and all the modern consoles. So you can play that. Liberation is the game. But yeah, just I think as far as, and I know they wanted to go in all that medium. I think they even have books too. They wanted to make it a really wide medium for the whole franchise. So it's not just games; it's other ways you can take in the story. But I think they only went as far as the movie. The movie did not do very well at all, and they kind of abandoned their plans for the mass media of Assassin's Creed, pretty much.
But so far, so good with the game. Like I said, I can tell you guys more the further I get into it, and once I finish it up, give an overall review or something. But so far, it's very enjoyable and recommend it easily.
I'm looking forward to it. I pretty much play all the games in order, mostly for story purposes. But that's a tall ask, and I usually get very sidetracked with collectibles and stuff, so it takes me forever to play them. So Origins was the last one I played. I still got to do Odyssey and Valhalla before I ever get to Mirage.
Yeah.
See, I haven't assassined. I'm not an assassinator. I'm not an assassin.
I wanted to.
We didn't think so.
Me neither.
And years ago.
My only experience was just the movie, and well, he said, how good was that movie? The CGI was terrible. I remember that much.
Yeah, I went into a game store years ago, and they had, at the time, like the variation of the games. So it was like 1, 2, 3, and then the side games. Picked up, a stack of them for $10, $15 total. Still haven't played a single one.
Wow.
No.
Yeah.
That's
I think I have a couple of Assassin's Creed games from PlayStation 2 and 3 here, which I've never put their discs in the console.
There should be, here. Let me game this out, like literally game it out, right? So what if, and this could be the beer talking, I don't know. What if, since we have achievements in video games, right? You get this many points, you kill this many enemies, whatever. What if there were achievements for having games that you don't play? Like there's got have purchased 100 games that I have not played. Have you know what I'm saying? Like how wouldn't that be isn't that a thing? Could that be a thing? Like you've got a game library, like
could be. I should have that achievement already on Steam.
But that's what I'm saying. You should have an achievement unlocked for not playing a game, but getting it, right? No?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. I mean, you'd have to track it somehow, but maybe if you played less than 5 or 10 minutes of the game or something. Yeah. Or Steam.
No, at all.
Steam libraries. Yeah, Steam libraries, you can do that. There's bundles that come with crap games. You never play them. I've got games that are probably 15 years old, and I don't know what they are.
Yep.
They just sit there.
Well, you got to be careful, because if the game's 15 years old, it may not work when you go to play it. The crappy game that you did not want to play when it was new. Like you got to be, because the dust might have built up on it. Bit rot, is that a thing? Is that
it is now?
Yeah, I have found a lot of PlayStation 2 games I own, which I have a large library, and I still play it with the console because it's horrible to find a good PlayStation 2 emulator. And throughout the time, most of the discs have rotted out.
Yeah,
they're like damaged by just time and humidity.
Yep.
Well, plus with digital bit rot, it's not. I mean, it's digital. It's literal bits and bytes. There's nothing physical to it. But I don't know. There's just something to being able to brag about how many games you have, without, but also brag about, the amount of time you've had it and not playing it. I've held off on playing this, or I got this at a discount and never played. I don't know. Maybe it's more for a T-shirt. Achievement unlocked. Bought another video game I'll never play. You remember the old Xbox? Bloop, that came up.
Yep.
And something like that's a T-shirt. Is that not a dude? Okay, someone's gonna rip me off. Someone is gonna rip me. Someone. Was
Well,
that
I
dog?
remember I bought. Yeah, sorry, that's my dog.
It's okay. Don't apologize. I love dogs.
I remember I bought the AC/DC version of Guitar Hero or Rock
Mhm.
Band. I don't remember which one was it,
Rock Band.
but I remember I bought it in Walmart on sale, $5, just because it came in a big box with a shirt on it. And the game itself, I still have in the shrink wrap.
That's funny. Keep it there. It'll be worth something maybe.
Where's
right,
my
Glendon.
achievement?
Have fun. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to make it happen. The achievements for not playing games. I would, dude. Trust me, I would wipe the walls with y'all. How many games that I don't play, and I have them all. Right, like I buy them or I don't buy them, but I get them free redeem codes or whatever. But I never play them. Thank you, Glendon.
Yep.
All right, Toxic in the top row here. What do you got for us this week?
So this week, my discovery or item of the week is actually my new microphone. Ooh, sound better.
Is that the one that's being used?
It is, yes.
Yeah, I didn't realize that's much better than the Yeti you had.
Yeah, so the Yeti, so for premise, I had a cheaper $40 boom with a microphone kind of set up from Amazon. It was just too tinny, didn't sound great. Went with a Yeti X, and I had to sit way too close to it for a while, and the audio quality wasn't the best. So I was working with a couple of our, well, actually one of them's been on the podcast already, but it's Josh, and another person on our chat who I think is going to join us someday. But we were kind of discussing what other options there were, and I went ahead and actually went with the same mic that you've got, Chris. It's turned out great. I've only used it now for about 24 hours, so still fiddling with it, but it sounds better from what I've been able to kind of loop back to myself.
Yeah, sounds really good. The other one, you had issues not picking you up when you weren't talking directly to it.
Yeah, I was talking loud into it, and I wasn't even 8-10 inches from it, and I just could not get it working correctly. Now Mike, who's in our stream regularly, he's got the exact same microphone and he's got no issues. So I don't know if I just got a bad one or if just his voice is
I'm sorry, I'm measuring here. I'm about 10 inches from my mic. And so
I think it
sounds okay.
Yeah.
I think it is the way you're using it, because I mean, even a distance from you, it was fine. But I noticed the moments you turned your head one way or another away from the microphone is when it stopped picking you up.
Yeah.
And it decided that your voice was now ambient noise.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be discussing that deeply later.
Yeah, it was
Fair enough.
It was a struggle. A lot of configuration in the software, which can be good, but for a novice like me, it was a bit overkill. This one, you go in the software and you've got a few things that you can really adjust by turning some things on and off, and that's about it.
Wait, so okay, you got the Rode Mini. I'm sorry, the Rode USB Plus. That's the one I've got. You said
Correct.
that, right?
Yep.
So, but you're using. I'm not using the software. Are you suggesting that I use the software?
To be honest, I just downloaded Road Central. I figured there was software. I should check it out, and there were some things amongst the firmware update when I first opened it. Not sure what you can really update on a mic, but I'm sure you can.
Is it a USB mic?
It is, yeah. So
okay, that's because when you buy a USB mic, it's not just a mic, but it includes AD converter and an interface.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the board that manages the interface part, that's what needs update. They fix bugs, make the quality better over time by algorithms and stuff. So it's not for the mic itself, it's just for the converter / interface.
That makes more sense, because in the software set, it probably plays or handshakes well with the what did I say was Road Central software package. And then again, in there's, I wouldn't call it an equalizer, but there's a few things that you can enable and disable, and I was able to just tweak it a little bit more. So if you haven't played around with that, Chris, you might want to check out.
I did. Yeah, they had like for the wireless Go. or is one of their products. I want to say that's from memory. And I used it, and I thought the interface was clean, but I didn't think, now that I've got the same one that you have, the Rode USB Plus, that I don't even need software. I mean, I just plug it in and it does work. You don't need the software. But the one thing that I would probably like to tweak is adding a bit more bass, because my voice is so, in my humble opinion, tinny and or a little higher pitched on the treble side. I would have appreciated, a boomier sound, much like closer to what Glendon has or what Goat has. That richer sound is something that I feel I need to compensate from this whiny garbage that I've got shooting out of my mouth right now. So
you wish you had a manly voice.
See,
don't worry. After tonight, everyone watching this will know how to do just that. So, depending on what microphone you're using and what system you're using, you are going to be able to.
You hear that, Chris?
I don't know. I have no hope for my manhood.
I am not questioning that. I am just talking about manipulating sound frequencies.
Yeah, you're going to need to manipulate something, because I'm still waiting for my testicles to descend.
Come on, man.
So, that's...
Glendon, give us a manly growl.
Give us a manly growl?
Yeah.
I feel like you're setting me up for failure. So I'm going to pass on that.
On the trailer voice, like, in a world where, I don't know, that would sound nice from your... There you go.
I get where you're coming from, Chris, because I have a
full of idiots.
I've got the booming voice.
I'm with you, Toxic. I'm with you.
Thank you, Glenn.
I've got the booming voice. Like, I've gone out to bars, and it's like you're sitting there yelling at each other when you're, a few feet from each other.
Yeah.
And when I, had a buddy going up and getting some beers or whatever it was, if I just yell like I'm talking now, it doesn't carry. But if I switch to my lungs, so I got the diaphragm behind it, I can shout, and he instantly hears me halfway across the room. So my problem is my voice carries, so I don't use that voice naturally.
Yeah.
And it sucks, because you're right, it does sound tinnier, but once I'm, a little bit louder,
aware of it,
I'm way too loud.
Dude, my natural inclination is not to boom, but like sometimes there have been times where people say, well, I've been in situations like, why are you yelling? I'm not yelling. Like, what are you talking? This is yelling. This is not yelling. This is yelling. If you want me to yell, I'll yell. But this is not yelling.
I heard that from my mom a number of times.
You can hear the Italian coming out of Chris.
Oh my God! Let me tell you, I'm
I'll stop.
I can't help it. It's a genetic thing.
Good beer.
Every time my girlfriend orders pizza, she plays that on her phone.
Really?
And smiles at me. I am not kidding. She does.
Isn't that a little... That's racist. I'm kidding. It's not. Italian. I'm Italian, so I can say that. It's okay.
Well, it's just a Spider-Man punch. She starts playing that and say, pizza time, like every 30 seconds.
It works for me. Works for me,
She loves her pizza.
Hey, man, I do too. Well, let me tell you, I can't get enough of it. It's been, I feel like a confession. It's been at least 4 weeks since my last pizza. I'm like jonesing for it in that way. So yeah, that's
I eat way too much pizza myself.
Is there such a thing as too much pizza? This is
if I didn't look like I eat too much pizza.
I don't think so.
I don't think there is. I mean, as a vegan, I can still eat pizza. People are always surprised. Like, you just eat lettuce and tofu? Yeah, but we prepare it differently. Shut up. No, you can have a vegan pizza, even down to vegan cheese, and it's getting better. It's not perfect. It doesn't melt perfectly. But now, were we talking about this last week on podcast or off podcast? We talk so much, y'all, all the time, and I love it. But I can't keep track of who was I talking to about this? The Taco Bell vegan.
Oh, the vegan cheese.
Oh, the vegan cheese.
Yeah. It's good.
Vegan nacho cheese.
It is maybe not as, I mean, it's thick-ish, maybe not as thick as like a Velveeta might be, but it is you could give it to a non-vegan, like, 90% of the planet, they would absolutely not know the difference. Zero. You could not convince me that someone would say, this is not real cheese. It tastes that good having it.
I mean,
It
to be fair, the Taco Bell nacho cheese is not real cheese either. So
that's what I'm saying.
Fair.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So people get all up in arms with, oh, it's not real. I'm like, what are you talking about? It was not real. Like, that's vegan. They made that up. It's soy and tempeh. And I'm like, yeah, but look at the garbage you're eating. I'm like, I'm eating garbage. It just doesn't have any animal product in it. So I'm not saying that it's, a holier than thou kind of approach to like eating food. It's just that the taste of it, they're getting to the point where the, let's say, non-dairy, non-meat alternatives, I'm not saying have achieved parity with the traditional foodstuffs, but it is getting very, 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 very close to the point where, again, there have been times that my parents have visited, and I realize we're way off topic right now. They have, this is what happens.
Every conversation I have with the few friends I have always ends up in pizza.
So, but okay.
Cheese technology is still technology.
It is. Food technology is, that's for sure. But this is the thing. Y'all wonder, like, what are y'all doing? What do y'all talk about when you're not on the podcast? We talk about this stuff every night. Different things. This is the way it goes every night. Every night on Twitch. So join us. So my parents have visited, and I said, well, do you want this? You want that? And, I only serve vegan food, vegan options, and they'll eat it like a cake or an ice cream or like a meatball or whatever. And my dad is always, he'll eat it and he'll kind of look and have this incredulous look in his eye, like, is it vegan? Yes, it's vegan. It's not a traditional meatball. It's not a traditional ice cream. He cannot tell the difference. Most people can't. And what I'm saying is that it's no longer the way it used to be. It's just come so far, the food technology, thank you very much, to making the taste and the texture closer to that which our palate expects. So I don't know how we got off directly, the pizza conversation certainly, but I did have to make note that the vegan cheese at Taco Bell right now is on point.
I have a Taco Bell right on the corner of my next block. Challenge accepted.
Yeah, I have one less than 5 seconds away.
He's actually on the second floor.
Yeah.
I'll give you my feedback.
You know what? If I could, but I've been tempted to try that vegan cheese. But like, I don't want a full cup of it, just in case I don't like it.
Okay, hang on.
When I buy the nacho,
going there just to eat the cheese.
When I buy the nacho fries and I get the cheese with it, Dude. I don't want to have a full one that says like, oh man, this is actually pretty gross. I don't want this. And then wish I had the other one.
I'm telling you, dude. I would be honest. And say you wouldn't know the difference. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't say it. It's, if anything, it's thick, not as thick as Velveeta, but I don't get like Taco Bell sauce, enough to know, well, this is, an anomaly. But
I like it thick.
It's not as thick as Velveeta. I don't know if it's as thick. If you did it like a direct comparison, see, that I feel would be fair. Like doing a direct comparison, but even then, if you had a bias to one over the other, you might know. But this the texture was very flavorful and very much in the vein of it tasted like melted cheese, watered down maybe slightly, not as thick as I might have had other cheeses. But I'd be shocked if you handed it to someone and they said, "This is vegan. I'm not eating this garbage." Okay.
I also don't like cheese, so I'm very weary when I do try cheese.
Well, never mind. You
well, I mean, I eat the
snob.
I eat the nacho cheese over there because it's not real cheese.
It's not cheese. Yeah, it's what is it? Oil, basically.
I looked up a copycat recipe one time to try to see how to make it at home, and there's like cheese whiz in there, at least in the copycat version.
Oh, right.
Cheese whiz and a handful of other weird
garbage
non-cheeses.
Yeah, I don't want to look into it. I don't want to know.
Don't.
Yeah, I'm like, if this is anywhere accurate, then I'm like, this is the most horrible thing for your body ever.
Don't do it.
It tastes good.
There's a reason why I'm vegan, like, because I'm going to eat garbage, but at least I know it's better garbage, kind of.
It's more cholesterol.
Exactly. I don't know. It probably adds up, but, at least I feel better about myself. My self-esteem is great. Eating the garbage, junk food vegan. So
I'm sure everyone would agree I should probably eat vegan.
What's that? You kind of broke up.
I'm sure everyone would agree looking at the podcast I should eat vegan.
No, well, the vegan has nothing to do with anything apart from just different choices, and you make your own choices. I'm the worst vegan. I'm going to lose my card because I'm not preachy. I apologize to all the vegans out there for not being preachy enough, but I don't follow the rules. So
that's why we like you, Chris.
I know. Thank you.
That's the only reason the meat eaters accept you.
Exactly. One of us. No, I'll live on the side. Thank you very much. So thank you for that discovery and tangent. I think that was the mic discussion that wound up spinning into nacho fries and veganism. Let's go ahead and pop over to Jerry and see do you have something that you got this week? Something new, something interesting, something different?
Throwing on my scissors, Jerry. Throwing on my scissors.
Scissor me, daddy, yes.
It's a wrestling thing.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Well, other than that fact that I mentioned at the beginning about how light waves work very similar to sound waves, I've been working with Chris and Glendon for the past 2-3 days, and I may have overdone it a little bit, and I think I even have like an outline for a book I've been thinking for the past 3 years, and and I know we're short on time, and I'll try to go as fast as possible. But since I've been teaching this for exactly 10 years now, and I've started as a recording engineer, assisting my dad back when I was 7, and to this day I still work on it and I teach it. You just please shut me up.
So on that front, actually, I'm not going to shut you up because you're a font of knowledge. I'm going to let that be a teaser because you're basically going to fill our brains, our craniums, with so much audio knowledge. Like we're going to dream about it. We're going to close our eyes and we're going to think, oh man, I got to do that. This is what happened. I have a feeling you're going to lay it out that way.
Mind you, I recognize that although of my academic education and experience, there's like experts that are way above my knowledge, and so if we get to a wall where I don't know anything, I will just say I'm sorry, I don't know. Because it might not happen.
Trust me, I do that all the time because there's so much more that I don't know compared to what I do know. But before we dive into what you want to lay out, I want to go to Mystery Goat to talk about his discovery and then go through his tips list to come back to you, if only because it may be a very interesting conversation. But Goat has his, what do you would do a Discord Star Trek game on these nights?
It's a Star Trek RPG on Monday nights. So.
Okay, so Jerry,
as you see, no one's interested.
Emotional damage.
Put a pin in it. And Goat, what do you got for this week? And then we'll roll from Goat into what you want to talk about.
So it's kind of one and the same. So my discovery this week, little cheat, is my new phone case for my Samsung Flip 5. And as you can see, it's more of a rugged case, similar to what you got. And honestly, watching you pull out your case earlier this week is kind of what put me on the thought process of this, because the case that you have is similar to pretty much every case that I've been picking up. This is my Pixel 5, so very similar to the one you have right now, and I'm running off my old Pixel XL, the camera right now. That has a similar case to this also. In fact, the Pixel XL is the same brand as the one I have for my Flip 5 right now. I really like this case, and there's a couple interesting things on here that aren't necessarily part of my tips. But for anyone that is in the Flip series, you may want to look into specifically is the hinge protection. Now, this is not something I even thought about until I was looking for a case for my phone. And I found a number of cases that actually do have the hinge protection. Now, this is not the first case I had for it. I picked up one previously little bit cheaper at the time, and that one wasn't even out yet. This was my previous case. It's more like a kind of like a fake leather type deal, and I went with more of an aesthetic instead of the rugged design that is designed to kind of add more protection to it. As you can see, it doesn't have hinge protection on it. And it was funny because, as I'm looking through cases and I'm noticing that some have hinge protection, some don't. As I was using this, it kind of was dawning on me as I'm actually using it. Oh, if I drop it and I drop it on the hinge, what might happen? I don't think a hole out will happen. It feels pretty durable, but you never actually know. And that's not something I actually thought about until I saw cases that have hinge protection. This one's pretty good. This is it's a similar design to the actual case itself. For those wondering how it works for a fold, it just flips up and folds on the outside. So you do have that little thing hidden, sticking out on the back. But it's actually been okay, and I don't mind it too terribly much. I thought I would. I thought it would kind of annoy me a little bit more than it does. It actually doesn't. But it's been nice. You fold it down. You can see the bare hinge right there, and it just pops right down and adds that protection layer to it.
Does it keep it from opening when it's locked?
No, there is no lock on it at all. It's freely opens by itself, and so when you open the case, it just moves it.
Oh, I see.
And then it kind of stays up there, and I have to manually put it down. So they do have the same style for the folds also. And the interesting thing for the folds, I mean, it's the same technology. It just folds like that, of course. But for the folds, the hinge protection on it, as you can see, it's a little hollow on the inside. The camera's not doing it very good, but on the fold for the inside here, I believe they for this brand they put a pin holder in there. So of course the stylus for the fold series for the 5s, it doesn't go inside the phone, and there's no other way to hold it. They have cases that can hold the pin, but for this brand in particular, they put it inside the hinge protection, which I thought was pretty cool. So anyone doing the fold series may want to look into some of that, and just something to keep in mind is that hinge protection, which I really appreciate. And I actually really like this case a lot more than I thought I would. Another thing that it does is that for the fold series, it's a lot more narrow than other phones. It's even more narrow than my Pixel 5. Actually, when I put it, well, it's not going to work very well here, but yeah, the phone itself, like, it's taller, but it's also more narrow. So it feels smaller in my hand. It feels like it's going to slip. I can't hold it as well as I could hold the other ones. And when I was using the old case, the sides on this were pretty slick, and I thought I could hold it pretty well. But basically, if I'm sitting up in bed or something like that, or I'm holding it and trying to type it, I mean, you can just see how small it is in my hands, and it felt like it was just falling all the time. So one thing that I really appreciate, which is actually part of my tips that I'll go into, is on the side it has a nice rubber grip on there, and it's actually a little bit wider than the phone itself. And so it feels like it's a little more heftier in my hand, and I'm not going to drop it using it. Yeah, definitely is a lot more sturdier than the previous one. So that kind of goes right into my tips, and basically how I come to the decision for a case like this. And again, as you saw, my previous cases are pretty much the same design. I like a more rugged design, and I like be able to have protection on these phones, because it's really frustrating to have $1,000 phone and to be able to drop it and the whole thing shatters and you're...
So this week, Mystery Goat, you wanted to talk about phone cases, specifically what you got to keep in mind in terms of getting one.
Well, so I understand that when you're looking for a phone case, it's definitely going to be subjective to what you want. Not everyone's going to have the same desires that I'm going to have when buying a phone case. But I thought when I go through my process in order to try to find one, some specific tips that I have in order to be able to choose what I'm going to choose. It may help someone that is on the fence. You know, when you go look for a phone case, doesn't matter what phone it is, there are a plethora of options out there, and it can be a little overwhelming. But having something in mind, a specific tip or something helpful to help you kind of narrow down what exactly it is you're looking for may be helpful to other people. So that's what I was going to go into. Basically, kind of like 5 principles that I use whenever I'm looking for a phone case.
Go for it.
Again, it's all subjective, so it kind of, take it with a grain of salt, however you look for a case. But I find these very helpful. And the first thing I look for is raised bezels. Now, for the which I have it on here for the Flip series. Of course, on the inside, it's pretty flat, and as my phone goes off again.
All good.
So yeah, it's pretty flat on the inside. The raised bezels don't come up on the screen. However, I think this is part of the technology of folding phones, because this is not glass. It's obviously not glass like your typical candy bar style phone, right? So I don't know, and I'm not going to test it, but I can't imagine that it's going to shatter when you just drop it face down like this. So I'm assuming that's why they didn't bother with it. Also, kind of hinders the whole point when you actually do fold it. Being able to fold it flat in its design, I can imagine that it's going to hinder that somewhat. So, but it does have raised bezels on the outside. And if you're looking for just a regular phone, as you can see, if you can see it all right there, the edges that are raised up. Of course, it's not covering the phone itself, but you have the edges that are raised up here.
I call it a lip, Goat. I do
Yeah.
the same. I have the same thing. I call it. I don't know why I call it a lip, but yeah, a protrusion that allows
Yeah.
it so that if it lands flat, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. So if you do drop it flat on a surface, it's going to hit this. It's never going to hit the glass. Now, if you drop it on something like a rock or something that's poking up like that, it hits like that, nothing you can do about it. And no matter
You have a
bezels,
bad
it's just the phone design. There's nothing you can do to stop that, quite honestly. But if you're dropping it on a regular floor, concrete floor, even on a street, you can have good success with that, because there's not usually a whole lot in the way on the street or something like that. But drops it face down like that, these bezels, that lip, is going to protect your screen and prevent the screen from actually falling on it and cracking it. So I feel that's a very important aspect for a phone. When you're trying to protect your investment, having something that's going to protect your screen is first and foremost what you're really looking for. The second piece is kind of goes into the same thing with phones, is corner padding. So this one's not as pronounced, but you can kind of see it on this one here. Sorry. So
Extra in the corners, you mean like?
yeah, extra. You can see it kind of bezeled up out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, extra in the corner. I never even thought about that.
Yeah, a little extra padding there, and because if you're going to drop it, there's a good case that you may actually drop it more so on a corner. No matter.
Good case.
Stop it. Get some help.
So you need it. So today's special word, secret word, is case.
At least two of us knew what it was.
If you do not understand, you are too young to be on YouTube. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Our wives think we're crazy.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, my good man. He's going to be missed.
Yeah.
So anyway, going back to my case. No? Okay.
The case.
I'm guessing it doesn't have
4 cases. Yes.
Mystery, I think it may not have like raised edges because it might like pull the screen on the bending part. Am I far from this? On the flip one.
Lip on the front?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like I said, that's another reason why I think is it doesn't have it on here, is because when it does fold, the phone itself is designed to fold flat, the newer ones.
Yeah,
So
it might push itself up on the bending part.
And actually, as I look through the middle of it, I can actually see some light coming through. So I don't know if it's actually hindering it or not, or if it's just the way it is.
But they made it up with the outwards bezels sticking out.
Yeah. So it's not a big deal, but when you're doing just your regular candy bar style phone, that's something to definitely think of, is your screen protection. When around the edges, the bezel will prevent it from touching the screen if you drop it on the ground and stuff. But getting back to the corners, so the corner protection is very useful because, like I said, if you drop your phone, there's a good chance that however it's going to fall, it's going to hit a corner, right? Whether you drop it this way, that way, something like that, it's going to hit a corner. That's a very dangerous and precarious spot whenever you're going to drop your phone, which, I don't know, some of us, it's inevitable that's going to happen at some point. A good case for why this is important is my poor, dearly departed Windows Surface tablet that was in one of those cases. I don't use the same principles for a tablet case, but I do like to have a nice case that kind of folds over and stuff. But anyway, it was kind of like a fake leather type design, but it was one of those where it slides into like a pouch and then kind of folds over and closes. Did not have very good corner protection, and I've dropped it a handful of times, and the cases was there to protect it. I dropped it this one specific time, fell right on the corner, shattered that corner, and spiderwebbed all out to the front of the screen. It was terrible.
That's kind of what happened.
Very devastated.
My daughter dropped an iPad from a tremendous height, and it was protected, screen protector, padding, and everything, but it hit in such a way in a corner that it was just straight, like that. Go like that. It was like a hand on the screen. How'd you know?
I was trying to do that slyly, so while you were talking and they zoomed into you, they wouldn't notice my hand on there putting in the power cord.
They're gonna flip that. They're gonna just see Goat's hand for like 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's a thing. Okay, everybody. Right. I know exactly what you're talking about because the same thing happened. Expensive mistake.
So, very expensive mistake. So, corner protection is very important for the phone. And honestly, I feel it's just as important as the front lip on here in protecting your screen whenever you drop it. And I have had this drop a handful of times, especially on a hard concrete floor, like where I work at. It's fallen right on the corner, on the front, many different ways. Phone has survived a handful of different drops, and every time it does, I'm like, that's why I have a case. So another good principle that I feel is very important when choosing a case. Now, the third tip I have is the side grip. Now, I talked about this when with my Fold, about why it was important for this one specifically, but I also feel it's important for even bigger phones and stuff, because to prevent drops, you want to have something that can help stay in your hand and you don't have to worry about it falling out, right? Whether it can be just the sides of them are slick, depending on the phone, whether you just kind of fumble it a little bit. Having a nice grip on the edge, the ones that I always get they're usually rubber gripped with a little bit of texture on it. And so, in my opinion, that helps keep it steady in your hand and keeps it from slipping in and out. Like I said, it's been important for me on that because as I've definitely dealt with this one, I don't feel that it's about to kind of fall out as I'm typing. I don't feel like if I'm going to hold it like this, it's going to just kind of slip out of my hand or so forth. And if this is a trend that they keep up with, especially the narrower design, it's definitely something I'm going to want to keep in mind anytime I buy a phone, if I get another one of these or something like that. So the next tip I have is built-in screen protectors. Now, screen protectors are something that almost everyone likes to have on their phone. Obviously, Chris doesn't have one. I am not a fan of the stick-on screen protectors. I know they're useful. I have one on my Switch, kind of came with it. I've had them on other things, mostly from stuff I've gotten from my Surface, actually has a screen protector on it, but I bought it used, so it was already on there. I'm not a fan of them because, one, I'm not a huge fan of putting stickers on that you got to line up exactly. It's going to drive me nuts if I'm looking at a screen protector and it's cockeyed just a little bit. I also don't like the idea, and I know it's kind of designed to do so, but if you ever have to take it off, I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a residue on it. I don't really know. There's some pretty hefty adhesive on there, obviously, because that thing I've never seen anyone's case or screen protector really peeling or anything on that like that.
Wait,
so
just to clarify here, when there are various types of screen protectors, I believe, and I think the one you're referring to is less like this one that I've got. You can't even see, it's transparent, right? It's a hard piece of plastic here. This is less like the one you're talking about, and what you're talking about is more the gummier type.
Yeah, the stick-on ones, the ones that literally
not tempered glass, right?
Well, it wouldn't be. I don't think that.
I-
Well, this is definitely not glass. I mean, the fact that I can bend it tells me that it's not glass. But I mean, there are different types of actual screen protection.
Yeah, there's different type. I don't know. The one I see most often used would be the ones that, I mean, I don't know any other way to say it, is that you stick it on, like it has adhesive on one side and you put it on like a sticker.
But okay, so a more let's say a more and I'm just clarifying, right? Because again, I know there are different levels. This
As Jerry has one.
well, because this is not sticky. I mean,
No. That's that kind of goes into
more pliable in the sense that yeah.
No, not even.
Okay.
Not even. That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay. Well,
I'm talking about ones literally that you stick. I mean, have you ever used a screen protector for any of your phones?
Oh yes, years ago.
Okay, so yeah, so you buy the ones, you peel off a clear plastic or maybe not even clear, and you stick it on the phone, literally.
I get now what you mean. It's like a clear piece of very flexible adhesive tape on your screen.
Yeah.
It does nothing but F up your glass when you remove it eventually.
Yeah, that's my whole point, is like, I've never had to remove one, but I don't know. If I had to, I feel like the screen's going to be jacked up. It's going to have like gummy adhesive on it, like when you pull a sticker off something.
By desperation, you're going to end up cleaning it with alcohol or the worst thing first that you can find, and then damage it even further.
Well, yeah, and if you trade in a phone, don't they most of the time tell you not to have a screen protector on it?
I don't know if I've ever seen that. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, but
I've only looked a couple of times with like the Samsung trade-ins and stuff.
But I know what you mean. I bought on eBay glass screen protectors, and a couple of times, like 3 times, I've gotten what you mean. It's just a very flexible, like clear piece of tape on your glass, and protects it. If it gets scratched, the glass is getting scratched for sure.
So a deep enough scratch versus a superficial scratch, as opposed to a deep drop. Like, and I feel like if you're in a situation, and sorry, Goat, I'm not trying to iterate, what you're saying, but like if I was in a situation where I knew I was going to drop on a frequent basis, or in a more, let's say, hazardous is probably the wrong word, but a more treacherous type of environment, I would use more of this type of like a harder plastic or glass, if you will, screen protector, as opposed to the flimsier film that would keep from superficial scratches. I would go with something a bit more.
Honestly, I'm not even talking about the type of material used to make the screen protector. I'm more talking about the adhesive aspect of it, where so think a bare phone that some people will like to use, especially Apple phones these days and stuff like that. They don't like to put cases on them. But they do put a screen protector on it, and that's all you have. So what's going to hold that screen protector in place? The only thing is glue, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a sticker on there.
Well,
I don't like that aspect of it.
It is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is.
But wait a minute. Can you? And again, your example is, I mean, and I don't think it's relative to the phone that you have, but it's interesting because the flip phone that you
kind of is
have,
actually.
Is it? Because like it comes with a built-in screen protector.
So my screen protector, yes, it comes in with a built-in screen protector on here, and so does the razor that you showed off in a previous video on your YouTube channel.
Razor, man.
Yeah,
it's nice. I almost got it, except for this, but there's a reason why I got this one instead of the razor.
I've played Chris's video review of that phone like 5 times, like a good movie, because I just want it so bad, and it's so out of my reach.
Sorry.
They came out. They have a cheaper version of that doesn't have the front screen. It has more like what the Flip 4 does, which has like the little mini screen down here. Like,
I don't want to sound spoiled, but that's what makes it cool.
I know, that's the whole point I even got this in the first place.
Exactly.
Was because I was like, they finally did it. They did the full front screen. That's what I wanted the whole time. So yeah, I think you're kind of getting confused with what I'm putting on the front here.
Right.
I'm not putting it on.
Yeah. I just wanted to. I wanted to clarify. If only that's what I heard.
Yeah.
Maybe someone else did too.
So, but I do have a built-in screen protector on here. And so real quick, going back into why I choose a built-in screen protector over that, which you heard my reasonings for that is, I don't like the whole sticker aspect of it and stuff like that. But I do want a screen protector to kind of prevent scratching, if nothing else. And it may help a little bit here and there. But when I buy these types of phones right here, I kind of always look for a built-in screen protector. You can kind of see the difference on here. You can see the little pop-out holes. Of course, a lot of nastiness under there because of those holes. So this has a screen protector on it, but it's built into the case. So on the front case, or the front lip right here, basically you put the phone into the lip on here, and then the lip goes into the hard clamshell or hard case backing. And it's like a thin sheet of plastic of some sort. Never has hindered my ability to use the touchscreen at all. And I think that might be something some people would consider, but I mean, it's the same thing as any other screen protector that you put on here. This phone does have a built-in screen protector on the front for the front screen, which I found very handy because as I put it in my pocket or something like that, my previous case did not have one. You can even see it's completely transparent or open, I should say. That is something that I thought about when I would put it in my pocket every single time, is that front screen kind of rubbing against the material on the inside of my pocket, or possibly, it dropping or something rubbing or scraping against it. That was a concern I had the entire time using that case. And so I really like having a built-in screen protector because it gives me that added protection on the screen. And of course, like I said, it has it for these foldable cases. It does have it for this front screen right here, because that's going to be the same type of screen design as you're going to have in your normal candy bar style phones. So that's just one aspect that I've always put inside whenever I'm choosing a phone case. And I've done it even before I had the Pixel XL. I had a lower tiered LG style phone. Again, another rugged design with a built-in screen protector, so I can make sure that however I'm using it, I don't have to worry about something scraping against the screen or trying to crack it or something like that. So that's something that I look for, because if someone's looking for a phone and they feel the same way I do about screen protectors, well, you might just go without one because you're like, well, I'll just risk it, right? But you can find plenty of phones out there that actually do have built-in screen protectors within its design. And so that's something that I always look for when I'm looking for a new phone or a new phone case. Any questions?
Honestly, I feel we kind of fleshed out, any of those points that you might have covered, certainly as we went along.
Made me realize that I have to do something about this.
All right. Well, I'm not completely finished, but I didn't know if you had any more questions about the screen, since it was confusing.
We got it.
So my last official tip, I got two more, but my last official tip that I'm looking for when buying a phone case is not something that I consider with my Pixel XL or even the old LG that I had, but something that I started considering when buying my Pixel 5, is that this was the first phone I had that had wireless charging. And so I think most phones are probably going to be okay with wireless charging, considering the material's probably not much thicker than this would be. So it's probably not something that you're going to have to worry about. But just in case, I actually really enjoy wireless charging. And it's a convenience that if I bought adapters, wireless charging plates and stuff like that, I'm going to want to make sure I'm able to use them. And that's something I consider when buying my Flip. There you go.
Yeah, it would be a huge inconvenience having a wireless charging phone with an uncompatible case.
Yeah, exactly. So, if I've already invested kind of into that, then I'm going to want something that makes sure I can use it. And so most cases, when you look on Amazon and you're searching for something, they'll usually tell you it supports wireless charging. So like I said, I can't imagine there's too many cases out there that you can't do wireless charging through, but it is something that, as I'm looking for a new case, I can have that little peace of mind knowing, okay, they say that it officially supports wireless charging, so that's not something I'll have to worry about. And as we delve more into wireless charging, that might be a concern for other people as well. So my final tip is a bonus tip, and I say this is a bonus tip because this is not something that I use on a regular basis, but I have found it handy, and it's something you guys already talked about, and you might find it funny. but that would be belt clips.
Sorry.
So again, going back to my LG, it came with a belt clip. Just the style of this case design seems to always come with a belt clip. Every single phone I've really had a belt clip with it. Now, again, it's not something I use on a regular basis, but I have found some good use cases for it. The first one would be if I know I'm going to be doing something where I say some manual labor of some sorts, or something where I suspect my phone might get banged around in my pocket a little bit. It's nice to have this belt clip on here, and I don't have that phone sticking in my pocket where it could be hit by something, especially if it's sitting a little bit lower. This is going to sit a little higher because it's sitting on my belt. What's really nice about it is, as you're using these, the screen is going to be facing the inside this way. So if anything hits it, it's going to hit the hard back of this. It's not going to hit the screen at all. And even if it's something forceful enough, like even if it's just hitting against my leg, something comes back and say, if I'm doing something that hits the phone while it's in my pocket, yes, the screen could be touching against my leg, and it's not against a hard surface or anything, but you never know. Maybe I flipped around. Maybe it's something forceful enough that it can do something to the screen, even if it's against your leg. This way, I know that the screen is never actually touching the inside of this. It's always the bezel. Again, going back to that bezel lip design that's on the front, it's that lip is always going to be protecting it as it's touching the inside of the case. Another use case I have for it is when traveling. I've used it actually quite a bit when traveling. Even to something like Disney, if I'm on a ride, I don't have it in my pocket where it could be knocked around while you're in the ride, especially some of the more thrilling ones. I also don't have to worry about it possibly falling out. Not that I'm saying it would, but you never know. Something could happen. But also when traveling somewhere that you're not familiar with, maybe it's a bigger city that you may feel it could be a little more dangerous, maybe even traveling abroad. Having this on your belt, I feel, is adds a bit of security. It's kind of what you were saying before, Jerry, that your girlfriend was talking about. I do feel this adds a little bit of security because, one, if they're going to go into your pocket, the phone's not going to be there.
Yeah.
If it's, and even if they do notice, usually it's covered by my shirt. So even if you look at me, you probably won't even notice it's on my belt clip.
Just
but-
even a third extra layer of protection.
Yeah, you can actually use it like that. So, and also if they do happen to notice, someone doesn't happen to notice that you have a phone on your belt and they try to go to steal it, it's going to be very difficult to just take it. It clips in, so you got a little clip on the edge here, and it just clips in like that. It's easy to take in and out, but it's not going to be easy to take in and out for someone that doesn't actually know how to use it or knows what they're doing and just trying to take it out slightly. So again, this is not something that I use on a daily basis. In fact, I got one for my new one, for my Fold. I have not used it at all yet because I haven't really had a need to yet. But I feel it's handy to use on certain occasions. Even for women, it could be helpful for them because most of the time you'll see they put them in their back pocket because their front pockets aren't big enough for modern phones. And so having a belt clip could be something useful for them too if they don't want to keep it in their back pocket all the time, which in my opinion is even more open to possible theft or something, depending on where you're at and where you're doing it. But anyway, those are just a handful of tips that I have. Again, I know everyone's needs are going to be different when it comes to phones. Some people prefer complete aesthetics over possibly durability. But whenever I'm looking for a brand new phone case, these are just some principles that I keep in mind. And obviously, I've heeded them ever since because pretty much every single phone case I've had looks almost the same.
Wow.
There's some good info because I was even looking at my phones. Even then, like between like budget phones, like this one's a Motorola G Power, the screen is plastic, right? But on a more premium device like the S22, S23, I've got an old Note 5. it's all Gorilla Glass. I've never thought about putting anything on these screens, but these cheaper phones, they do get micro scratches and wear marks, and the sensors start to go after a couple years, and that would alleviate
something
that
interesting.
issue.
Something interesting I learned about Gorilla Glass, which I read it in passing, so it's not something I can completely verify. Evidently, for so many years there, it was like either your front screen cracks very easily or it scratches very easily. And so what I read was that the ingredients that they used to make the glass, it kind of varied depending on generations of phones, and it was a very fine line between making the ingredients to where it makes it scratch resistant to scratches but very delicate when you dropped it, or it did it from shattering when you dropped it, but it made it easier to scratch. So it seems like there was a very fine line. Now I can't go into detail. I don't know the ins and outs of modern screens for the brand new phones that just came out, so they may have gotten better at balancing that, but at least previously that was a big concern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even
See, very interesting.
Even my older phones, like I said, my Note 5, I've got the OtterBox, I think it was the commuter case. And on my S22, I think it's also the commuter case. And I was noticing the bezel lift. Yeah. On the outsides, it's much more prominent than on the sides because this has the curved screen. So I was kind of looking at this, and the more I was looking at it, it's like, that's not really protected. I mean, if you hit it at the right angle, it still can be scratched or cracked. But
yeah, that was something I thought about. When Samsung was first trying to make use of those OLED screens, and they were making the curved screens where it was curved on the edges, and that was something I never had one, but that was something I always wondered was like, how the heck are you gonna put a case on there that kind of protects the screen on all sides? Especially from dropping,
Yeah, the S22, I will say, at least with this case, if I'm like seeking a play track or something, I can't always get it to restart perfectly. I kind of have to hold my finger at that point or something like that. The S23, the curve is not as prominent, so it feels a lot flatter when it's in the case, but there is still a curve to it if you take this off. But they've done a decent job of it. But to your point too, with stick-on screen protectors, I got one from a Nintendo Switch. Mine doesn't go in and out of the dock a lot, but because the main screen on it is a plastic or a polymer type of protectant on the actual LCD, mine's not the OLED. If you take it in and out of the dock, you actually get wear marks because there's little bumpers that keep it centered.
Yeah.
So I bought an aftermarket glass stick-on piece, so that way I don't get those wear marks. But didn't even think about the adhesive on there. I should check that.
Yeah, I did. I got one of those types of screen protectors for my Switch. It kind of came with it, just from a bundle deal that I had, and it does frustrate me because it is not on there exactly centered. So I see that every time. There's also a little piece on there where it's just bubbled up just enough where you can see it's not flush. It's a little opaque compared to everything else. Thankfully, it's in a small, tiny corner, and also thankfully, I don't ever play it outside of the dock, but it's there. I know it's there. Annoys me. I do have to say, when it comes to phone cases, I'm really annoyed that we have to use them because as I was taking off the original case for my Flip and putting this thing on, I like this case. It looks good. I like it a lot more than I thought I was going to. Not that I didn't like the look of it before, but as I've been using it, it's really nice. It's hefty. It feels like I'm using a piece of equipment instead of a luxury device. However, as I took the previous case off and looked at the phone, it's so freaking pretty.
Yeah, I always think about how most of us always use phone cases, and then the designer, which is so proud of his work that it got released and it's a success, and everyone is covering up.
Yeah, but I mean, the design is beautiful, and that's fine when all is well and good. But you drop the thing, and no one cares what the design is.
I know it's a necessity.
I'm 100% with you, Chris.
It's a necessity. It's
exactly
something you got to do. it just sucks that
That's all
they
I'm
make
saying.
these things so pretty and they look so good.
That's all I'm
And
saying.
I was looking at it, I was like, man, this is just the design of the back on here, and everything was so pretty. And like,
Yeah, it's
you know, to
just
cover it up.
it's just a macro unfortunate situation.
Right. Well, it's
Yeah.
like I explained, before. There are knobs and dials, right? That you got to twist. Like if you turn the knob this way, well, the dial's going to move down. You can't have I want this and I want this and I want that. Most of us can't have that, right? We can't replace the device like that.
Here's the compromise. We know the vast majority of people are going to be putting cases on these things and covering up the design. Let's stop putting so much money into the aesthetic design of it and put more money into the hardware design,
Durability. Yeah.
durability, software.
Yeah, it's like incorporating the protection aspect of the case right from the design of the phone itself.
Yeah, what would you call it? The frame, the chassis. I say chassis, and maybe that's overstating it, but I think like in terms of car, like the actual body itself would seem to make the most amount of sense. Honestly, Mr. Ego, that's not too far from what I feel like when someone shows or a company or anybody says, "Oh, look at my new phone," I'm like, I'm not saying they are all the same. I'm not saying they all look the same. Certainly there are differences, but for the most part, when I see the hardware, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's neat, but I'm going to put a case on it because itself on its own, it's fine. It's great. Like but see, like the back of this phone, matte finish, the back of this case, matte finish. So I'm like, well, I'm not really missing anything apart from the logo that I'm not really paying for, So
my pixel designs, you can barely see the color of the phone that I chose, which was that mint.
I love that.
The
fingerprint sensor.
Finger sensor is the only one that's on.
I remember the fingerprint sensor on the back. God, that takes.
That's why I went from the 1 to the 5. I 2, 3, 4 all sucked. But one of the things I really love was the rear fingerprint sensor on here, because I just take it from my pocket, put my finger on it, it's already open by the time I bring it out.
That's funny.
I do like this. The fingerprint sensor is the power button on here, which is I do like it. It's nice, but I do kind of miss the back fingerprint sensor.
Totally understandable. Thank you, Goat, for covering that. I'm sure it gives plenty of people food for thought. I'm sure everybody's got an opinion on it. Like, well, I like this and I like that. That's great. It's you
can like whatever you want.
Conversation. Exactly. It's your phone. That's why I don't get. I understand the wars of Android versus iOS or this one versus that one. I'm like, make your choice. Give us informed opinions. Give us options or things that we need to consider before we get the next one, right? And so that I feel is the most fruitful part of this particular discussion. So I appreciate that, Mr. Ego.
I hate to leave you guys, but
it's all good.
It's time for me to depart.
Dude, that's why I went to you first. Yep. Timed it well. That's why we did it.
Enjoy the rest of the show, and
thank you.
We'll catch you guys later.
Sounds good.
See you guys.
Now we've got let's go ahead and pop to Jerry if we can, because I know sometimes his internet is a little, because remember he's in 91-degree Fahrenheit weather right now, so it's hot.
Today alone, the power has gone out 3 times already.
So just so you know, that's what he is coming through to deliver critical information to you in relation to your audio experience, things that you need to consider. So it's very good to have you, and I'm glad that you're able to come through this heat to present us with ideas and options that we might be able to use moving forward with. Hopefully our audio is okay. You're the judge. I cannot be the judge because I'm not an audiophile.
The ironic thing about all this is that I am very sure that my audio is the worst one out of all of us.
Really?
Yeah, no. I've only used this setup to like teach online classes after the pandemic, so I've never used it or reviewed it for broadcast purposes. So that's why the comment section is down there. You can tell me. I want before we go into it, could you give us like a high level overview of what you plan on
on covering in giving us a bit of guidance? And I've got a high level review from where I sit, but I mean, like, what is the encapsulation of what it is that you want to share?
Well, basically, I would like to cover focused on making music, the principles of sound,
Okay.
the principles of recording, and all of the options that you can choose from to create music.
So sound, recording, specific to music. But with this, I got to ask before you get into it, again, I'm just trying to set context. Would what you're about to lay out also apply to people who might not be making music? It's just not as...
Oh yeah,
hard?
totally.
Okay.
For example, one of my original topics was comparing working on audio for film, TV, or video in general versus audio work for music. And there is a lot of overlapping going on between them. For example, if you are a content producer or a YouTuber or a filmmaker, it's always good to know about what your options on microphones are, or preamps, or portable recorders, etc., which you could also use as an alternative to make music, not used in the same way, but the same gear could overlap, and the knowledge of manipulating sound signals. For example, what we were talking about earlier about how can I make my voice, which naturally is... I understand you, because I have just noticed that when I am speaking English, which I've been living all of my life minus my 4 years studying in LA, Spanish all of my life. But when I speak English, my voice gets way thinner than it actually is. So right now, you and me, Chris, we're like
right up here. Yeah, right. Let's go. Ha! I can't wait. Let's go. Ha!
But okay, in fact, that's like the perfect get-go for the book outline that I sent to you guys. But there are two fundamental properties of sound, and in part of a sound signal as well. And I always call it the this and the this. So this is sound frequency, which includes all of the vibration from elastic mediums, including air, which is the way that we mainly experiment sound. And there's a range in which we can hear. So if we take a sound signal and manipulate the volume of just one part, or a segment, or a range of that full audible frequency range of humans, you could, for example, find the lowest frequency on your voice, and that's what known as equalizing, which the word comes from how the equalizer was invented and why. If I put my history professor hat on, the equalizer was invented because in the first long-distance telephone lines, you lost 5 decibels in amplitude, in volume, which is the other property of sound: volume, frequency, and volume. How loud is that frequency? Of how much energy does it have? So every 3 miles in a long distance telephone line, they lost 5 decibels in volume of just the range around 4.7 or 0.5K kilohertz. So they had to come up with this, because if it's a very long distance call, the receiver would hear you like this, because the high frequency is getting lowered and lowered and lowered because of the distance. So they needed to make the volume of that frequency range equal to the other frequencies. So hence the equalizer was born. Now we can manipulate the volume of a sound signal, but in just the right frequency range that we want to. And for example, if we have like the simplest fixed equalizer that we all seen and know, which is like a 3-band high, mid, low equalizer, that what it's called fixed, because if it's like you take the entire frequency range of audible frequencies and split it in 3, and now the mid gain knob can raise or lower the volume of just that range, the high on just that range, and the low on just that range, also commonly known as treble, mid, and bass. So there's another type of equalizer that's a little bit more complex that will make us or help us make our voices sound a little bit deeper. We can see or we can look, and if you want to know more about this,
I would love to know more. This is a conversation that is very near and dear to my heart, because naturally I have a very, very deep
in a world
voice. In a world.
No, but before I want to have you continue, because I'm very much learning in this scenario. You teach this. This is part of your career. You're not just an enthusiast. This is your life.
Yeah. I started assisting my dad as a music recording engineer when I was 7. I remember the first recording that I assisted my dad in, it was because he had set up some microphones for a recording session, and me, 7 years old, went into the live room and started playing around with the setup. And when he caught me, every other parent would have just taken off his belt right there. And I was surprised to know that he reacted with, "Oh, so you want to play around with microphones, right? Now I'm going to teach you how to put that back the right way." And that's where I unknowingly started learning from him.
Wow.
And even before I graduated high school, I had my first Grammy nomination from 1998, a salsa album. And I started working on music throughout, but then around 2007, I moved to LA and I focused on studying sound for film. There was a popular music chef in the local music industry, where tropical music like salsa and merengue, which I was mostly trained in, got replaced by urban music and reggaeton and trap, and I don't know that much. And even though in later years I've worked productions of that genre of music, but I diversify your knowledge, sir. So I started working on advertising, sound for TV, radio, and basically I've been teaching sound engineer in music schools and teaching sound engineering.
I heard that sound. I heard that. I heard that sound. That registered.
My little space shuttle.
Yeah,
and I have another one there.
Fantastic. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt your flow of where you were going. That and it was very interesting to hear how I never knew that's how the equalizer came to be. I did not know that.
Yeah,
that's new to me too.
Yeah, we take it for granted, but where did it come from, right?
Yeah, and then after that, he was like, "Wait a minute, we can now use this for recording and for mixing." And so, as I was saying, if you want to learn a little bit more about this, I ask you to Google audio frequency main chart, and the first picture, I think, or second that pops up will give you an idea of what range of frequencies, of human audible frequencies, most sound sources occupy. For example, the male voice starts around 110 hertz, and with its harmonics stops at 8K or something. I don't remember. But for example, that's the reason why a fixed 3-band equalizer might not do the job for making our voice deeper. We need to move on either to a graphic equalizer, which has a lot of bands, and it's called a graphic equalizer because its design, it's basically like the frequency chart of audible sound, so to speak. And for example, if I were to I want to make my voice sound deeper, but all I have it's a 3-band equalizer, and I raise up the low gain knob, and I am not sounding any deeper. It's because that range of frequencies that the low band of that equalizer has, it's below the lowest frequency that your voice can make audible. So in that way, you can find out which frequency is your lowest or deeper by using a graphic equalizer and looking for your lowest frequency, following the guidelines of that chart I told you about. And there's another type of equalizer, which is the one most used in pro audio, which is called the parametric, the parametric equalizer, which has 3 parameters per band. The frequency, so you can now choose the center frequency that you're going to be working with. The Q or the bell, which represents how wide or how thin that frequency range is, and the gain knob, which raises the volume or lowers the volume of that band. So you can just take a parametric equalizer and just go the lowest sound that your voice can immediately, and move around the frequency parameter of that equalizer and find your lowest frequency, hence making your voice sound deeper. This takes me also to another tip which I had not realized just until now. Parametric equalizer, just as well as most professional microphones, come with what it's known as a high-pass filter. It's a filter that lets the high frequencies sound, so it cuts the lower frequencies. So most, this is very common among new YouTubers that just got good gear. For example, your mic, Glenn, or its analog counterpart, the SM7B.
Right.
And then you hear it, and then all the time you're like, please welcome to my podcast. This is gonna be an experience.
Although the only problem with that is the microphone you're using, I think, maxed out.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm trying to exemplify.
Okay.
I did that on purpose. I did that on purpose.
I do it on accident.
Those P's and those T's that saturate your diaphragm on your microphone are below your lowest voice frequency. So a way to very easily fix that, those annoying, especially if you're talking very close on the mic like I am,
that kills me.
You can just, which I could have if I had an equalizer between my preamp and my interface, I can just cut out every lower frequency before my lowest frequency. So that will not happen mathematically. It's just not possible. So in cases that you are using a preamplifier that does not have a high-pass filter, you can always look for, it looks like a division symbol on your microphone, which represents the sound frequency range and a cutout at the lower frequencies. So my recommendation, always cut out the lows and raise after your lowest frequencies, which are above that cutoff of the bases. And what is a preamp? I've said preamp a couple of times. If we are talking about a microphone that has, which is not a USB or digital microphone, just an analog with an XLR output, no microphone is gonna give us a useful signal to whatever we would ever want to do with a sound signal. Record it, play it, process it. And that's what's called mic level or microphone level. There are actually 3 different types of sound signals that vary amongst each other, mainly in how strong they are in volume. The lowest is instrument, which, as the name says, it's the output, the highest output of an instrument, which is the lowest overall. The microphone level, which is not more than minus 40 decibels in the sound frequency, in the sound dynamic range. And there's a line level. This is where we want to get. Every microphone that has an XLR out needs to go through a preamplifier, a standalone preamplifier, or a preamplifier that's part of a multi-functioning system, as a sound card, interface, mixing console. And that's what lets you raise that level of signal from microphone level to line level to send it wherever we want to send it, to a recorder, to an interface, etc. And any questions up until now?
Yeah,
I feel like I'm rolling up.
Same premise as I collect vinyl records, and you have to have a phono preamp because it's not going to be audible.
Exactly.
And you're not going to get it to that line level without a phono preamp.
Yep, that's exactly what it needs to be done because, for example, microphone's function, it's very similar to that of a record player because it's a transducer. A transducer is anything that can change one type of energy to another type of energy. So a microphone is just converting sound waves, sound energy, acoustic energy into mechanic energy. And by interacting with the magnet, we get electromagnetic induction, which converts the movement into electricity. But since that movement is based off the 2 fundamental principles of sound, which is its frequency, how fast does it move that diaphragm, and amplitude, how far and how strong does it move that diaphragm, that sound signal, it's like an interpretation of electricity of that sound wave. When you're talking about a record player, you're transducing mechanical energy, which is getting those vibrations from the groove on the record with the needle and turning them via electromagnetic induction into what might be very similar to a dynamic microphone, which uses electromagnetic induction. So the output is very weak. It's like close in between from instrument level and microphone level. I think it's very close to microphone level. And it also depends on the impedance, which is how much power has an electronic component of resisting the current of energy. So the higher the impedance, the lower that signal that goes through it is going to be. That's why you mostly, and especially on pro record players, it's always recommended to use a preamp to raise that level of the output that is just a transference of mechanical energy into electrical energy and raise it to line level in which you can send to your amplifier and enjoy beautiful, beautiful music. Any questions?
No, honestly, for me, I've been learning quite a bit. There's a few things, obviously, that I've known, but it's all been very interesting. And I guess the biggest thing I learned was in relation just to microphones was the high-pass filter. I've seen
and
amplifiers for the car, but that part makes sense. But then I never really thought it really did the same thing on mics. But obviously,
yeah. And another thing on mics, the SM7B, it has, when you remove the back plate of it, it has like a graphic of a frequency range, the entire frequency range that it can capture. But at the extremes, you can either raise it or lower it depending on what you want. So if your lowest frequency does not reach its lower frequency cutoff, you can actually clean your signal by just lowering that part and make your voice sound deep by maintaining the mid frequencies. And then actually there's another thing now that you by your reaction, it's called subtractive equalizing, which means that, for example, if I have an equalizer, let's say a 3-band fixed equalizer, and I want to make something sound deeper, we go back to the 3-band equalizer, which didn't do the work before by raising the lower part of the frequency. What I can do to make it sound deeper, it's lowering the higher band of the frequency, hence augmentating the lower frequencies, making you sound deeper. That's another.
I appreciate it, especially. I feel like I've picked up a lot here in the course of this conversation. It's worked. Look, the audio tips worked because clearly I made the adjustments on my end. And I feel it sound. I sound more rich, don't I?
Orson Welles has got nothing on you.
Well, I tell you what I do feel. I feel that this beer has gone through me, so I'm going to let you keep going on your next path. Maybe a little bit more here, Jerry. And
I'm going to try and run by this. Please, okay. If you get lost at any point, stop me. I'm going to try to...
I don't think anyone's getting lost. This is like very deep information that I think most people don't get. They know they need it, but they don't know what they need, right? And so this is a perfect way of laying it out.
Yeah, I will try to make it short, and
no
if needed, I will leave some other parts of this for another day.
For the future. It's a good way of looking at it.
Another excuse to hang out with you guys again. So I've tried making a top 10 list in which will allow us to go through the details and intricacies of every single detail. For example, if you see this as 10 ways of how to make music, the first thing that you will need, that you cannot do anything, you need an idea. You need a creative idea, you need a muse, you need a hook, a melody in your head. If you're planning or visualizing in your head instrumental music, you must first of all hear what you want to eventually hear at the end of the project in your head before you do anything. You need that idea, and it doesn't have to be a complete idea. Maybe it's just I just came up with that, and you could go and build from there. Then you can get into the writing, you can get into the beat making, which is considered part of pre-production technically, but the higher your budget is for a music project, the more you are allowed to come up with stuff in the studio, which is considered to be a production part of the pre-production, production, and post-production overall of the project. And so that's debatable. So technically you can do your music arrangements or your beat making during pre-production, but some artists have or people that have home studios can allow themselves to use the studio time to get the muse rolling and stuff. Apart from that, you are gonna settle on a genre and instrumentation, what instruments are gonna play out on every song or throughout your album or EP, whatever you have, and a creative vision. If you're doing more than a single, more than one song, there has to be sort of cohesiveness or continuity between all of your pieces from that project. The pre-production process is going to also allow us to choose a producer, either for the entire project or a producer for each song. We're gonna set a studio. We're gonna choose a recording studio, who's gonna be the engineer, who's gonna be which musicians are gonna play which instrumentation part, which I always recommend especially if you're on a tight budget and you wanna record acoustic music, which not long ago I heard I'm sorry, it's raining and my doggy is on the terrace. I have to get it in. I'm sorry. Give me just 1 second.
It happens, no doubt about that.
It's gonna get. It's so already wet.
Do your. You know what? Here's the thing. Life comes first. I don't mind any of this and how it plays out because I know there are people who do far more polished productions, but I just prefer the more they're real human beings and they're interacting in their own little zone and they're in their world and these things happen. I've always felt that way. In fact, I remember there was a time I did an interview. It was a radio interview. This is when I lived in Iowa. I'll never forget this. And the dog that I had at the time, Sprocket, was out on the. Cause I did name that dog Sprocket. Was out on the deck. And the reason by the way, Sprocket as a dog, does that ring any bells to y'all? Do you remember Sprocket? From what?
I don't know, but it rings a bell.
Fraggle Rock. The dog, Sprocket, and this dog.
I was thinking of Spacely Sprockets from.
No. This is Sprocket, the dog from Fraggle Rock. This dog, I'm telling you, was Sprocket like in real life for sure. And I was on the it was an interview, right? They were talking about Lockerdom. This is back. It would have been in the late '90s, back in the previous century, And I was talking, and at some point, basically, Sprocket just out of nowhere went, har, 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 har.
Look at this dude.
And I'm like, what the hell? Like, what? And then I had to get off the call. I'm like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. Something just happened to my dog. And I ended up taking the dog to an emergency clinic, and it was nothing. Could have been like a bee sting or a spider bite or something like that. Mm-hmm. Man, that was harrowing. Like har, 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 har. Literally is in pain. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go. Like, so I had to apologize for being on the call, but the dog survived. Sprocket, of course, is no longer with us, but so I've been in those situations, Jerry, where dogs are a priority. I feel you, man.
Yes, they are.
Right now, I just turned off the camera again, thinking my girlfriend was knocking at my door again, and it was just the dog wailing its tail in the door.
Yeah, it used to do that all the time, like thump, 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 thump.
Yeah, I thought for real that it was a knock.
It's all good. So, not to interrupt your flow, but maybe you've got a couple more things, and then maybe we can table for the future.
Yeah. This is the content equivalent of overstaying your welcome.
Right? No, it isn't. It's dense information. You're not overstaying your welcome. I just want to make sure that it's impactful in what you are sharing is going to be received without, because again, you are used to teaching classes, certainly. And I'm not saying this is a class. I am learning things, but in taking that information and distilling it down so that we've got not just action items, but a better or a deeper understanding and then carving that up. So you're not overstaying your welcome at all. I love inviting different people, because I'm learning something.
No, sir, and I am
exaggeration.
not. Me neither. I am not exaggerating when I say that I have done a great job of maintaining my composure because it's a dream to finally collaborate on something with you because
fist bump.
that's why I sincerely got a bit teary-eyed when you said we're all friends, and Glendon and everyone have been so
screw that
kind
guy.
to me.
Yeah, but I wasn't including Glenn when I said that. Don't tell him. I was not.
Yeah.
He's the
Yeah,
exception to the rule.
don't listen to these guys. They don't even know what they're talking about.
So, following what would be done in the pre-production process, other than choosing your producer, studio engineer, musicians, it's very important that you plan out your schedule. I'm gonna start this day, and this day we're gonna do this day we're gonna do that. If you don't plan out your schedule ahead of time, you're gonna have a bad time. Okay. So that's highly recommended. During the production process, that this is just like when we're talking about film or video in general, the pre-production process, you write your stuff, you choose your actors, you scout your locations, you work out the rental equipment, the catering, whatever. During production, you actually shoot the picture according to that schedule accorded in pre-production. And in music, it's the same. During production, you're gonna execute your pre-production plan. So during the production process, that's where you're gonna choose what micro, or that's the engineer's job. It's to basically bring out the producers and artist vision in the best quality possible according to their creative focus or their creative vision for the project. And according to that, the engineer is gonna choose which mics he's gonna use for what sound elements, what miking technique he's gonna use according to the recording space and the acoustic situation of that space. Not every microphone is gonna sound the same every place, especially with different sound sources. That's why movies today get ADR'd all the way through, not necessarily because the set recording got damaged or noisy or anything like that. It's because if I have a couple of scenes which I filmed and the dialogue recording from the set is perfect, but then I put that dialogue against those scenes which I ADR'd, and by that I mean replacing the dialogue in a studio with the actors, they're gonna sound different. When you, even though if you're using the same microphone, the acoustic situations that were on set are gonna for sure be different on your recording studio. So to have a constant sound quality, and you need to replace all the dialogue so it sounds the same throughout the picture and it doesn't happen. For example, I freaking love James Rolfe, the AVGN, Angry Video Game Nerd, and in his early episodes you could very clearly hear that he was using either different microphones or the same microphone with different positioning, and that he for sure did not record the voiceovers over the gameplay footage as opposed to his voice when he's on camera. It was a very clear sound distraction. So to evade that, Hollywood with big budget pictures, you tend to replace all of the audio. In which I have a short anecdote, and I'm recognizing that this is more fabric to cut some other day. But I worked in this particular movie in which, for example, if you ADR, that's part of the post-production of a video project. And But when you're working with video games or animated movies or shows or any animated form, your first process of production is recording that dialogue. Just the opposite as live action. Live action replaces the dialogue after in post-production, and in animation, it's from that dialogue recordings in which the animators get to work. I worked on this movie in which I think there was like a month and a half before release, and they changed the entire third act, an animated movie. And by that point, the main villain in the movie was here in Puerto Rico shooting another movie, which was why the stars aligned and I got that chance. And when I did the work, this was for the first, I don't know if there's a second, the first Minions movie. And Sandra Bullock was shooting another movie here. So what they did was they had an actress lay down a reference dialogue track so the animators could get working on it. And with that rough animation, we have to ADR with Sandra Bullock over that. Like that's a work pipeline that's very unusual for an animated picture. So books only tell you like starting points or guidelines, but practically we're going to encounter all types of very particular technical situations in which reading a little bit more about gear and frequencies and sound and why are there so many microphones, and you'll just read, you'll get the best that you can when you know just what to get and just how to use it. And
That's, it's important.
Yeah.
It's very important. And most people don't consider that.
Very much
Yeah.
so.
I do have a question.
Yeah, sure.
This is more so on the musical recording side, I would imagine. But what is considered, let me see if I can word this better. Do you have the sound engineer or whoever's mixing it, do they confer with, the artist or the musicians on where they want to record this first? Because I know some people perform inside studios, some people do it outside of studio.
Yeah.
And my question is, how hard is it outside of studio to attain the sound that they're looking for?
Yeah.
Acoustically treating the room and things like that. Is that something that you have to take into consideration?
Oh, yeah,
and
totally.
move
totally.
everything around to achieve that?
Part of choosing a producer, it's basically letting him, by the experience and by the talent, and put out your vision in his way, through his eyes.
Right.
So you're trusting him, or if it's an intelligent artist. And this could vary also. Sometimes when we're talking about multinational label signed artists, he has very little vote on whichever project he's gonna end up singing. That's entire. Even the label chooses who's going to produce the material. He may have some kind of input, but the higher the artist is and the more powerful the record label is, the less voice and vote the artist himself has during the production. But independent artists, most of them tend to produce their own stuff, and those that don't are totally leaving and trusting that producer to make the right choice on where is the best play that we can make this that I just explained to you to sound how I explained it to you. Right. And there he can go. I've worked on projects, actually, and if there are any Puerto Ricans listening to us right now, they are gonna back me up on this totally. There's a local artist called Victor Manuel, and he made in 1997 one of best produced albums that, I'm talking about it after 30 years, I think. And what that album had in particular is that they recorded the piano in this studio. They recorded the percussion on this other studio. They went to New York and recorded the brass section. Then they went back here to another studio and laid down the voice tracks. And that album sounds perfect because every studio in which worked a particular instrumentation segment was the best at it at that time. And in that at that time, the label was Sony. So in the 90s, late 90s, so everything was great. So they could afford to produce an album like that. And yeah, they allowed the producer, which I was just working with after like 20 years this past weekend. Very hard to hold back the tears in the nostalgia way, Ali. Yeah, so a wise producer is gonna make the right choice on which live room will sound better for either the entire production or just instrumentation parts of the recording.
Yeah, so much is contingent on your environment, right?
Yeah,
Where you are.
yeah.
I that's why I collect Star Wars figures. They're great sound dampeners. Perfect. They just absorb it. So I come across, much more professionally than I would otherwise.
Yeah.
Your room does sound pretty dead, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
pretty good.
very dead. Very dead.
This is another, and I promise you guys, I will finish now. But when you, basic recording studio is composed of 2 rooms that are separated by, in the best case scenario, 2 doors and 2 or 3 ply glass window. And when you are designing your acoustics for your control room, the one that you are monitoring your sound signals, you want the room's frequency response to be as flat as possible. The same as with your monitors. You want the flattest frequency response according to your acoustic situation. That's why I never recommend KRK monitors. The ones with the yellow woofer.
Yeah, the KRK rockets.
Those but from factory, they raise around 18 decibels on your lower frequencies. So those are monitors that are lying to you. They're telling you, oh, hear your mix. It's so bassy, so pumpy. And then you take that file, put it on your phone, go to your car. Hey, wait a minute, where's my bass? That's because your car speakers, which are, for most people, the ones that we are most used to, they don't lie. And they're going to tell you that in your mix, you have 18 decibels less in the lower part of your frequency range. Now, you want the flattest frequency response from your monitors, the flattest frequency response from your control room acoustics, but in your live room, in your recording area, unless it's like a radio station studio, but in a music recording studio, we don't want to kill it, so to speak, completely. We want to give it a sound personality or quality or uniqueness by manipulating in that acoustic design. For example, there are 4 ways in which a sound wave can travel. There is the fundamental incident wave, which is the one directly created from a vibration that makes the sound. Then there are the reflections. Every surface that cannot let that sound wave go through or keep its path coming is going to reflect it back to the source. Then there's diffraction, which is the sound waves that sneak on holes or openings or around doors, and there's refraction, those sound waves that are long enough than half of the width of an obstacle in which they can go through. For example, it's like a car that has all of its windows closed but has music, and you're listening to it from the outside. You hear
right.
It opened because the lower frequencies, since they have a lower wavelength, and the car glass or windows are just or so to speak thinner than the longitude of that wave, it can refract. it can make that obstacle vibrate itself so the sound wave can keep traveling. And then when you open the door, I don't know why everyone is listening to disco music in that car. But yeah, it's very fascinating what I teach, and I love doing it, and I will never get tired of it.
Clearly, that's the one thing you're exuding, not just the knowledge, but also the passion. That comes across loud and clear, literally. It's loud and clear.
And what's interesting too is a lot of the things that he's touched on regarding frequency and interference. It's just how Wi-Fi works, kind of like what we dabbled in last week and we've touched on before in the channel. It's the exact same function. Like when you've got a low frequency, it can travel through things easier. When you've got a fast frequency, it gets a lot more interference with solid objects. So there's a handshake between just audio and computers and everything else. I mean, everything's just frequency. Everything's electric. Right?
And another thing, now that this is the bonus one, you never hold a microphone around the capsule. Even if the microphone is a unidirectional or a cardioid microphone, which means that it has a pickup pattern to just receive sound waves from one side. The back part of the diaphragm needs to also receive sound waves because it gets the noise around your ambience, but in a negative value. So when the noise is the noise canceling principle of having two microphones, for example, on your phone, you have one on top, you have the one you speak into in the lower part. So the one on top can catch the ambience noise, invert the polarity, or as it's known, the phase, and just send your voice clearly. It's the same principle on any microphone. For example, on this, the little rows of openness on the body, it's just to hear the sound coming from other parts of its place that are not my voice, put them out of phase so the microphone can give out a clear signal from the place that the microphone was designed to receive sound signals. And I'm done.
No, one hell of a sound off, I tell you what. And certainly you're more than welcome to come back, because anytime I can learn something new, it's a good thing for me, because then I can carry that knowledge forward, right? And I'd rather get that information from someone that I know. I mean, what were the chances of me going to Wikipedia tonight, right? Or, if Elon Musk had his way, Dikipedia. What if I were to go there tonight? Did you guys catch that news?
I did.
Wait, what? That was not a joke? Wait, what?
No, it was definitely a joke. He offered the Wikipedia Foundation basically $1 billion to change the name to Dikipedia.
Oh my God.
It's, when you've got that much money, something's wrong with the system. Period. End of story. So, I could have gone there and looked it up. It wouldn't have come across the same way. Or I never would have searched for, like, hey, where did the equalizer come from? I mean, I'm clinging to that right now because it's something that resonated. Sound resonate. Resonated with me. So
yeah, but that's one thing I always tell my students when they say, "Why are we enrolled on a class or a program when we can just learn this stuff on the internet?" I say, "Sure, go ahead, drop out. Let's see if you have the discipline or even where to start. Look for the stuff." There's a big difference between personalized teaching and freeballing it. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, and by the way, Mystery Goat dropped out because he had another engagement. You can keep hanging out until the end, just so you know.
Yeah. I'm gonna drop out for a second because the last advice I can give anyone: never pick up smoking. It's stupid. It's like taxation for weak willpower.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Hear you there. Probably the same way with beer. Well, thank you. Appreciate you sharing your tips. And, if you...
I'm more than happy to, man.
You can keep your camera on, but you can walk out for, whatever you need to do. No judgment. But we're going to move on to Toxic at this point.
I'll be here.
Absolutely. Thank you. Once again, now Toxic Doom, what do you got for us this week to share for knowledge, for information? I'm a sponge.
Yeah, so I'm going a bit retro, but still applicable today. I'm going to talk about the 5 top things that work for me that are required for a successful LAN party.
Wait. Do LAN parties still happen?
They happen in my house.
So you've hosted them in recent weeks, months?
I will be having one in December, actually.
If you're listening, everyone's invited to the LAN
I've
party.
been working on actually for a number of years. It's taken a while to get some traction. I don't think it's actually going to happen because of how slow it's been going, but I've been trying to work on a tri-state kind of mega LAN party where people can come into like a convention center, pay and play all weekend. It's been tough.
Yeah, events are woo! Yeah, that's events, let me tell you. So you got some LAN party tips, suggestions, guidance.
Yeah, kind of just more guidelines, things that some people think about, some things you don't. Especially for the younger people now, they may not even know what a LAN party is because everything's online. You know, back in the day, quote unquote, dial-up was a thing. The internet speeds were very slow, and getting together, bringing your 60-pound computer over to your buddy's house and playing the same game together was the best way to play multiplayer games, but on your own machine, not sharing a keyboard. Remember those days? The idea is to get everybody on a single LAN or a single network, play some games together, eat a bunch of junk food, party for a weekend. Sometimes it just turns into somebody watching, you know, something on Netflix and a few people are doing this, that, whatever. But it's just more or less a social event. So the 5 things I want to start out here with is kind of semi-obvious, but not always. Power requirements, especially today. Our computers today are extremely power hungry. You start throwing in some 2000, 3000 series, maybe even a 4000 series graphics card. If you're playing on 1 or 2 4K monitors, you're going to use some juice. Realistically, you could probably get 3, maybe 4 people comfortably on one circuit in your house or one fuse panel. But the idea is that you're going to have to hook up, depending on how many people are there, multiple machines. So you're going to need multiple power sources. So the easiest way to get that across your house, instead of hiring an electrician to temporarily hook up some extra panel pieces into your breaker box and running some wires across the ground, is just getting a bunch of cheap extra extension cables, borrowing them from friends, whatever it may be, running them all through the house to different plugs in the house down to the central area. Again, you could probably get 3 to 4 people. It's typically what I've done on a single extension cable. That includes your network equipment. Typically, I'll do, you know, a large like Cisco router that's from an old company. You can find them on eBay. They're pretty much e-waste at the company's level.
Does it require a high bandwidth?
Not locally. I mean, we'll get into the games a little bit later, but I mean, as far as just gaming, it's pretty low tier as long as you have everything preloaded. But I'll definitely touch into the games here in a second. But yeah, I mean, power is a big one, right? The other thing too is, depending on where you're hosting this thing, you've got heat to get rid of. If you're playing in a garage that might be, let's say it's 70 degrees outside, you might crack the garage or something like that. Your computer is going to run hotter. It might be 65-ish, you know, might be 75, 80 degrees. And that's comfortable for a lot of people to be outside at 75 to 80 degree breezy weather. But if you've got a room packed full of computers and they're all pumping out heat, things get hot, toasty, sweaty, nasty. Take a shower.
If you live in the Caribbean, especially,
you've got high humidity. Yeah, it's not fun. So you'll trip breakers, right? Everything's running hotter, it's pulling more power, trying to cool itself. You really got to focus on your power, where you're getting it from, how many extension cord cables do you need, who can bring some, how many people are going to be there, that kind of thing. The next big thing is obviously seating room. You got to have everybody to set up their stuff, and sleeping room. So seating, I typically like to do one of those fold-out tables. Sometimes they fold in half, but the 6-foot plastic tables that you see at every banquet, a lot of people have them for parties at their house. You can get them at Walmart, whatever it may be. Those are perfect for LAN parties. I typically put 2 people at a single table, same direction, so that way you can butt it up against the wall. If you're a little short on tables and you've got extra people, our computers today are a lot thinner and smaller, especially for the screens. Back in the CRT days, I mean, you would take up that 3-foot section with your keyboard, your monitor, speakers, headphones, whatever it may be, and you'd still be pressed for room. Now, if you really had to squish 3 people into a single table, you could do 2 on one side, 1 in the center on the other. It's not the best seating arrangement. Figure 2 people per 6-foot table. And as far as locations, again, I kind of touched this on it before. Basements work well in the summer, right? Because again, your computers are going to be putting out heat rises, especially if you got multiple people in the room. It's just going to get warm. So naturally, you're going to stay cooler in the basement. You don't have one, first floor in your house is obviously going to be the best. And then moving up from there if you don't have the room. I actually had a LAN party way back in the day with the original Xbox. Is actually that guy right up there. I had 3 other buddies come over, and there was a total of 4 of us. We were playing Halo 2, which was online, but that did have the LAN mode.
Those weren't the days.
Yeah, it was the days. We all piled into my bedroom at the time. I actually pulled everything out of it. I pulled the bed out, the dresser, and we put 2 small office desks together and put our rolling chairs in, and we covered up the windows so the sun wouldn't get us, that kind of thing. We put all the Xboxes kind of in the center, but it actually got to the point where we actually overheated the original Xboxes, where they quit loading maps and that kind of thing. So
Xbox overheating?
Yeah,
Oh no!
Never heard of that.
It got hot in that room. So the heat and the location, right? You really got to think where you're going to put all this stuff. So again, in the summer, as low as you can go, the basement's the best. What works well in the fall and winter, maybe early spring, it's going to be your garage. If it gets too warm, you can crack that puppy open, let all that hot air out, close the door, it cools down. But if it's in the wintertime, it's naturally going to be colder out there anyway. A lot of people don't have heated and cooled garage doors or garages. Insulation's pretty bad. But if you fill that with, again, electronics, people, it's going to warm up. I mean, in the wintertime, you might go out in the garage. It might be 60 degrees on a cool day at 25, 30, 35 degrees. You get that radiant heat coming in through the walls. It might be, cool, not comfortable to sit in. You get 5, 10, 15, 20 people in that garage. Everybody's starting to hook up their machines. Everybody's in there making coffee or whatever it is and downloading games and gaming on top of that. It takes only about an hour or 2 to get that room up to the comfortable 65, 70 degrees where you're sitting in there in a t-shirt and a shorts if you want to. No shoes, nothing. So you've really got to figure out what your space locations are. But obviously everybody's got to sleep too. You need floor space, right? Even at my age, I sleep fine on the floor. The excitement with the LAN party, again, it's a social event. People are getting together. You might not see them all the time. People might come in from out of town. You're just hanging out. You're having a good time. Hours go by through the night. Not everybody's playing the same game, but it doesn't matter. You're just conversing. That's the whole point of the whole LAN party. Hours of sleep do get crushed down a bit, which is okay because if you're not sleeping anywhere comfortable anyway, it doesn't really matter. You just find a corner, you sleep under a table like you're 7 years old again at a slumber party. You're just finding any nook and cranny just to sleep for a couple hours, get back up, turn that coffee pot on, and just start gaming again. That's just kind of the premise, right? You've got to, just as recap, you've got to have the idea of where you're going to be placing everybody, not only for where they're going to be gaming, but also going to be sleeping. That kind of what Jerry touched on earlier was the games. We were talking 15, 20 plus years ago. A lot of the games were designed for online play sometimes, or they specifically had a LAN connection or a direct play connection. So direct play was typically over the internet. You might have had a buddy set up his game on his computer, dialed into the internet, where you would connect. He would give you the server name or the server IP address and the password. And then you would connect your computers over the internet. Internet got faster. And again, LAN options where people might have 2 computers or you bring your computers together in the same house. The people would share that local area network or the LAN, and then you could just easily connect both machines together. Today, obviously, games are more focused online. There's no way around it. There's still very few games that come out with a LAN mode. But at the end of the day, pretty much everything's co-op, online, or single player. again, you might say, well, why do I want to drive to somebody else's house to, lug my computer over, reset it back up, and play the same game? And
it's the social. It's all about
exactly. So a lot of people, you're 100%
very
right.
different experience. Yeah.
There is something way different about on a weeknight playing some games with your friends on your computer, turning everything off and saying, "Good night, guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow."
Yeah, but just like saying I could be talking to myself here alone, which I normally do anyway, but it's much better to socialize with other people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I touched on that before, right? Not everybody's going to play the same game. You might have a game that only supports 4 players. Well, maybe there's 10 people that want to play it. So there might be 2 sets of people playing it, and then maybe those other 2 people will jump in and out, or they'll play the loser of this game, or whatever it may be. You figure those things out, but at the same time, it gives you a break. You can go take a bio break. You can go get some food. You can get some coffee, drinks, whatever it may be. Or maybe you just want to relax because you're tired of gaming for so many damn hours. So then you just want to go out and just, enjoy some downtime watching Netflix or Amazon or whatever it may be. It's about that social part. But again, because games have gotten much larger, much graphically more dense, games have gotten bigger. And again, they don't all support a LAN side. Because of that, and again, as Jerry mentioned, you've got to get your games preloaded. Right. It's me. If I'm hosting it, I try to have communicated out at least a few days prior saying, here's at least the top games that we're going to play. Try and download them to your system, purchase them if you're interested in it and don't have it, but have them on your system when you come here. Because even here at my house, I currently have a 2 gig down connection, but I had, 1 gig, and at some point I had 50 meg where I was still hosting LAN parties. It does not take many people to start saturating a gigabit when you're hammering Steam. 3 or 4 or 5 people, your wait times, right? Everybody's downloading. If you're downloading 100 gigs plus per game, it gives you downtime. So if you can get that list out and just say, try to get these, and if you don't have it and you just want to see somebody else, play it before you buy it, you can download it at the house. But try and get those things pre-purchased and downloads.
It's like going camping with an already built tent.
Yeah. You know what to expect. You can at least play it a little bit, make sure it works with your system. There's no driver issues, that kind of thing. Whereas if you're buying it on the fly, again, you might be waiting to play, and then, attention spans sometimes can be short. And they say, well, this wasn't a good idea. So you delete the game and you go and you're in line again, trying to download and figure out what to play next. Next is networking gear. Again, depending on the size of the party, don't use Wi-Fi. I touched on this a little bit on a couple of the videos with Chris. With Wi-Fi, you could think of it as a single data line in and out. So the more people that are using it, just online gaming, you should be okay, 3-4 people. But if one person starts doing a massive download, they're going to be hogging up most of that bandwidth on that connection to the router. And it'll lag everybody online. So it's important to use wired networking if possible. Again, I touched on it. You can get some old enterprise class Cisco gear, $20 for a 48 port switch. It'll handle everything for days. They're not power efficient. They might use up to 300 watts if you're filling up the switch, but you're only using it for a weekend. So realistically, it's not costing anything. And you can save money by buying some of the big box stuff. Go at least gigabit. It's pretty much standard everywhere. It's cheap. It's been out for ages. And then if you do have to use wireless, maybe throw 1 or 2 people that brought a laptop that doesn't have a network card in it. If somebody wants to connect their cell phone or tablet just to kind of connect everything, do it on Wi-Fi. But your gaming machine should always be wired. Last but not least is food and drinks.
Yes.
The largest LAN party that I've had here at this house, and this house is not big. It's a ranch, not 2-story, don't have a basement, about 1,600 square foot. So it's not small, but it's not exactly large. The largest LAN party I've had at this house was 29 people over the weekend.
Jeez.
We were on a 50 meg connection at the time. So that was very important about making sure your downloads were complete before you got to the house. If we were trying to get a game, everybody just kind of took a break and let the internet just kind of simmer for a while. It worked out well. I mean, 50 meg was plenty for everybody to be online doing whatever they needed to do. Everybody's got to eat and drink. So plan on junk food, right? Don't plan on making anything. Just go out to Taco Bell, do massive orders for pizza.
Yeah, boy.
If some people are feeling one restaurant and some people are trying to do something else, you get a headache just trying to say, well, we're all going to get pizza on Friday and then we're going to go get Taco Bell for lunch on Saturday. Just don't do that, right? Just let people do whatever they want, because something's going to sound different or sound good to somebody else.
Yeah.
But again, fast food makes feeding people cheaper and easier. Plan on lots of coffee in the morning. The first time I introduced coffee as availability, people would start waking up and I was like, I'll just make like a pot or two, not realizing that some people drink an entire pot a day, which I do know. However, I don't drink a lot of coffee. Like, it lasts forever in my house. So I was making coffee for a couple hours. I should have had a much bigger coffee pot or a percolator or something like that. But again, you just want to prep for that. Obviously, trash bags, and again, expect a lot of random food deliveries to show up at your house. Just to kind of a general recap here, the 5 top important parts is make sure you have enough power. Make sure you have plenty of seating. Figure 2 people per table, per 6-foot table. Maybe 1. You could probably squeeze 2 on a card table. Make sure they've got places to sleep, whether it be an air mattress, the floor, whatever it may be. The concrete doesn't count. If it's carpeted, great. If it's hardwood, don't plan on sleeping on it. Games, go old if you can. Like Unreal Tournament 2004 is very, very popular still for LAN parties. It's a very fast-paced game, very minimal system requirements. Anything will run it nowadays, and it's just a lot of fun. The internet servers have been offline, so at this point, you're just LAN only or single player. If you are going to do online games, you can entertain, again, games that might be first-person shooters where you could create an entire team and join in yourselves, like Halo or something along those lines. Or if everybody wants to join a massive server, one of our favorite games is Rust. Everybody could join in the same server. We could kind of pinpoint where we are on a map, and everybody could build 1 mega base. And it's quite enjoyable to go on to what they call a vanilla server, which is just the standard rules, and it's very difficult to gear up and level up. Or we'll start on Friday night and we're raiding everybody and owning the server by Sunday morning. So that's a lot of fun. Make sure your networking gear is up to snuff. Don't plan on Wi-Fi for everybody. And try and just get some basic networking gear. Again, if you wanted to go new with a networking switch, you don't need many ports. $10 for a 5-port gigabit network switch. You'd be good to go. And lastly, of course, you got to feed everybody, but they'll pay for themselves. Don't worry. Pizza, fast food, junk food, drinks.
Yes, and yes.
Energy drinks, exactly. All the bad stuff for you. Nothing really counts until Sunday when you just feel like utter garbage.
It's worth it, though.
Yeah.
Those memories, man.
So just kind of take those into account. Just don't invite a bunch of people over to your house, and then before you know it, you're standing around, well, where do I plug in, and where do I put this, what game are we downloading? Before you know it, hours have gone by, and nobody knows what's going on. So those are the top 5 essentials that I have.
Solid, dude. Those are great.
Ultimate LAN party.
I kind of want to host one now. I don't know how the hell that's going to work. I mean, I know how it's going to work, but it just kind of sounds fun. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. It really genuinely does.
I try to plan at least 1 or 2 a year, and again, it doesn't matter how many people show up. The LAN parties with just 3 guys are just as fun as having some that are 30 people. If you really want to get them big, the easiest way is just invite a buddy and say, hey, if you know anybody that would want to come that weekend, invite them. And guess what? You make more friends. So the next time you have one, you start inviting all of them. And if you want to expand your social group, that's a very easy way to do it.
Man.
Good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely solid. I'll host one eventually, just not yet. One day. Maybe.
One day.
One day.
It'll be with laptops.
So probably, yeah.
So
I
far.
got the band. Sure. The space. There we go. Speaking of one day, Glendon,
Yes.
you've got a new a list of tips and tricks to share with us.
I do. What I'm going to go ahead and discuss today is go over some top reasons to consider gaming peripherals over just your average, everyday, ordinary mice, keyboard, controllers. Because believe it or not, it can make you better. I didn't say it's going to make you good, but it can improve your gaming experience.
Feeling the premise is targeted towards me. All right, go ahead, Glendon.
Well, I mean, if you've got a guilty conscience, Brad, then
I was
it could be towards you.
Okay, all right. Let's hear him, Glendon. Let's hear him.
All right.
We
So-
feel attacked.
The first reason that I want to cover would be, like I said, improved gaming performance. Gaming peripherals like mice and keyboards, controllers are designed to offer enhanced precision and speed, which can help you better perform in the game. Polling rate on mice, a gaming mouse is generally going to go higher than your average everyday desktop mouse, right? Your response time is going to be improved, which in turn can help speed up, your gameplay, especially if it's in a fast-paced, twitchy type of game like your first-person shooters. So again, like I said, it's not going to make you good, but it can improve your performance, at an incremental level. Another thing that you can do, and I kind of touched on this last week or the week before, whenever we were talking about customizing your PC experience. Well, with your peripherals, you can do the same thing. There's a lot of different options out there that allow you to tailor them to your specific needs and preferences. Things like programmable buttons or RGB lighting experiences, even adjustable weights. There are different mice that are out there on the market now that you can take and put little, gram to 5 gram, 6 gram weights inside the body of the mouse.
Oh, yeah.
And stack those up to try to find a good balance. Me, I like a medium weight. I've tried a super light mouse and I overshoot it way too much. Yeah. So I had to find a happy medium. Like I said, a lightweight mouse is just not suited for me. I can play with it. I can do fairly well, but that goes into the next topic, which is comfort. If you are going to be playing for any extended period of time, you want to have an experience that's comfortable. Ergonomic designs, those are one things that you can get a plethora of, as opposed to just going to, your Office Depot or your Staples and just picking up the generic no-name brand name mouse. So it's the ergonomics. You can get ambidextrous, which is good for either hand. You can get one for right hand or left-handed. You can get them low profile, high profile, coated, non-coated. By coatings, I mean different types of grips.
Mm-hmm.
I've even seen some with fans inside of them to keep your hands from sweating. That was a couple years back. I think that fad finally went away.
It's still around. It's all in the Micro Center.
Really? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I saw
Not for me.
at TV Games once. I remember.
Yeah.
Who wants fans? I mean, oh yeah, sweaty palms.
I play a lot of
It's a gimmick.
competitive games.
It's
I feel it's more gimmicky, like you said, than anything else. They even had controllers, if you remember back on the 360.
the original
PlayStation
Xbox had them too. Yep.
And the PlayStation 2 and the 3 that had fans built into the controllers.
Mhm.
It's just a gimmick. It's another
Yeah.
cash grab. I don't feel that you're really going to benefit from anything like that.
Yeah, I remember when I saw them, I was like, "Oh, they have fans for sweaty. Oh, that's cool. Would you buy it? Oh no, hell no."
Yeah, yeah.
I'm good.
But ergonomics are really important, especially if you're playing with a keyboard and a mouse, and even controllers. They don't just make these controllers and they think that, just because they want it to look that way. It's about placement of your arms, where you're going to have them next to you, how close they are to you whenever you hold it, how far away are they? Because fatigue and strain is real, because a lot of people can get carpal tunnel. for prolonged use of a mouse and typing on a keyboard. Ergonomics are very important, and a lot of your gaming peripherals cover those bases with either wrist rests or, like I said, different ergonomic styles of your mouse that you can choose from. Even some wrist rests for your mice. I don't particularly use those. I use a keyboard wrist rest, but I don't use one for my mouse. I just feel like it's just too constraining for me. But it is an option. Another topic that we could discuss would be durability. Gaming peripherals are typically built to withstand a little more wear and tear that comes along with the frequent use, and can make them a better investment in the long run. Again, it's like anything else. You pay for what you get. Don't get me wrong. Gaming peripherals are not cheap. They're overpriced. But
but overpriced, number one, is relative. Two, there's a range, right? I
Right.
assume. I mean, it's not
Right.
always.
Yeah, you've
and
got
I know
different
what you're saying.
budgets.
Yeah, I know what you.
Yeah.
But your point stands. Your point stands.
Yeah. Again, like I said, overpriced, sure, but it depends on what your budget is, right? So that's subjective. I would say quality seems to be a little better, from my experience with these, especially with like a Razer or a Steel Series or a Corsair, your staples that's been around for a good while.
The ones that have earned our trust.
Yeah. Sometimes they can lose it too, but yeah, for the most
Oh, yeah.
part, I've not had any issues with any of those companies' products in recent years. I think I did in one time in the past have one Razer mouse die on me. The sensor went out, but I'm still not sure if it was my fault. I think I may have got something into the mouse, but that's debatable. So durability is another thing. Like I said, if you're spending this money, you want to make sure that it's invested wisely, or as wise as we can, and get something that lasts a little longer than your average everyday cheaper accessory. Because you can get mice and keyboards for pennies on the dollar nowadays. They're very cheap options that are out there. Will it work in a pinch? Absolutely. Is it going to hold up? Probably not. Because they use lesser switches and I'll say lesser quality switches and sensors and things like that. They're probably not going to hold up and stand the test of time.
In other words, if I'm understanding correctly, you should aim for your peripherals that are gonna allow you to play as good as you are, and not as good as the peripherals allow you to play.
Right. Yep. Yeah, because go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm going to steer you off topic. Cut.
No, you're fine. Go right ahead, Brad.
I was just going to say the durability aspect too is regarding not everybody's kind to their hardware. So buying something cheap like the freebie Dell mice that come with your computer,
Yeah.
those might get beat up pretty hard in a CSGO match, but your gaming mouse is a bit thicker skinned, so it's going to hold up a bit more.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of desk slamming that could happen on one of those cheap mice. Let's just say
the
that.
least. Yeah.
I'm not one of those people, but
Sure you're not.
that's my original controller, actually, 96. Yeah, I don't throw controllers.
I've still got all mine. I take care of all my stuff too, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Now, whenever I was a youngster, that was a different story. Whenever I was a kid, before I had to buy my own stuff. There was many days that I would get frustrated with Super Mario Brothers and throw a Nintendo controller until my dad saw me do it once.
Yeah.
That didn't go over so well.
Once.
Yeah,
once.
Stop
saying once.
Mm-hmm.
He made sure it will never happen again.
Right. Well, never happened when he was around.
Exactly.
We'll say that. Another thing that you could take into consideration is multi-device compatibility. Gaming peripherals are often designed to be compatible with a wide range of devices, including gaming consoles and PC, especially on the wireless side now, since that's come into mainstream. There are people that will use the same mouse at home and out with their laptop, just because it's convenient. But these gaming peripherals, they are widely compatible, except for your proprietary controllers, of course, that you've got on your Xbox and your PlayStation. Those aren't going to work together. But they can work with the Switch, which is odd because Nintendo will use either your Switch controller, you can use an Xbox controller, you can use a PlayStation controller, just because it's standard Bluetooth. But Sony and Microsoft, they don't play well together. You can't use one or the other on their consoles. You can use a wired mouse or a wireless mouse now on all consoles. It's actually baked into the games now. A lot of your gaming consoles now, the lines are really blurred with PC gaming over the past 4 years, with the introduction of the newest PlayStation and Xbox having the ability to play at 4K 60 or 4K 120. So some people are making the decision to just play on a console, but may have played on the PC prior to and are used to a mouse and a keyboard because it's way more accurate than any controller. These game companies have now started incorporating mouse and keyboard play on consoles,
which is fascinating, honestly.
Which is really cool. To be honest with you, and these gaming companies, again, two that stand out right off the top of my head are Razer and Cougar. They have keyboard with a slide out tray that comes out from under it that has a place for your mouse to where you can play on your couch.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I have seen that. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they are, I'm not sure how well it sells because you could get a tray table and pull it up to you and use it probably a little more comfortably, I would say, as opposed to having it set lowly in your lap. But again, they're trying to cater to it. But a lot of times nowadays, that experience is moved away from the couch to a desk because everybody's wanting to stream. They want to be on Twitch or they want to be on YouTube. So it's a lot more feasible now to have a laptop sitting here, your game console sitting here, and your peripherals plugged directly into your game console, and you're playing like you would on a PC. It's very interesting time that we're in, and the lines are getting really blurred between consoles and PCs now.
Hey, Glendon, is there such... I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Jerry.
Is there such thing as a gaming keyboard with analog sensitivity keys? In which...
Yes.
Yes? Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is the thing. I actually purchased one about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Mine is the Apex Pro 10 keyless from SteelSeries, and it uses Hall effects sensors, which are magnetic, and you can adjust the actuation point.
That's
how
nice.
far down it is before it actuates and then releases, and then that reactuation point.
That's
so
awesome.
basically, like if you were playing a game on a console, and a lot of times in these first-person shooters, you click the left thumbstick to run, right?
Yeah.
Or you can pull your left trigger or your right trigger on a racing game for your throttle. That applies now on these keys. Like if you want to push in and barely travel forward, then you can just lightly tap in the W key.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Because
and then if you want to full on go into a sprint, then you can push it all the way down.
Yeah, that's what made me play with the controller I mostly do GTA races,
Mhm.
and to control the throttle with a keyboard, just a non-pressure sensitive keyboard, it's horrible because you're either accelerating or you are not.
Yeah, it's just
And
binary, ones and zeros. It's on or it's off. But with
yeah,
these new sensors
that's
and new switches that are out there, you have a different range that you have for that actuation.
yeah, that opens the door to a whole lot of actual gaming possibilities with keyboards.
100%. And the last point that I'll touch on for this evening is enhanced immersion. And the reason I say that is because VR has really come into the forefront in recent years, VR and AR. And these headsets and haptic feedback controllers that we use really can change the way that you play like it has never before. Especially with the headsets. I've got a Quest 2.
Sorry.
What happened?
I knocked my mic into the
How's that?
cement.
That was you.
I
Did you
knocked
like
my.
how I just kept charging on
You
until I
did.
heard everybody laugh?
Sorry.
I see Chris
really-
picking up stuff.
I was like,
I just saw like scratching the mic like it had an itch.
Yeah,
or
I
something.
thought that somebody just scratched it.
I messed up my new microphone.
Did it get dented?
Can you? Oh yeah, it definitely got dented because it knocked right into the corner of the cement block on my desk.
Oh,
Smack! I'm like, oh.
The microphone or the windscreen?
No. The screen. Oh, actually, the screen got scraped too. Oh man, I knocked that one for a loop.
this is the part of the podcast when you're scrolling through the runtime, you'll see a spike in the
Oh man. I hate when I have like perfectly pristine equipment and then just something happens. It's like, well, okay, fine.
Get that boom.
It
It's
builds
a-
character.
It's a boom. It's a boom mic now. It just boomed.
Fell down and went boom.
Big bada boom. Oh, sorry, Glendon.
Oh,
I'm
you're good.
sorry, I'm
You're
sorry.
fine. You're fine.
Son. Am I fine though? Am I really? I'm sorry,
Probably
not me
not.
to interrupt.
None of us
No,
are.
you're good. You're good.
Okay.
I was talking about VR.
Okay.
So that's a peripheral that you may not think of right off the top of your head. But it's in the forefront now. You've got Apple that's getting ready to throw their hand at the game. You've got Sony that's doing it already. You've got Meta that's already got theirs out there. Microsoft has talked about it. I don't see them doing it, but it's something that's very attainable now with the price points that we see. They're no longer thousands of dollars for these VR headsets, and you can get a very good wireless experience of them now. You don't have to be tethered to a PC. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the new PlayStation VR, you still have to be tethered to that console. It's not completely wireless, but for PC, you have that option to tether it and get a better experience, higher frame rates, higher resolution, or not, just for the convenience factor of not even having to put up the sensors with the new Quest. Everything all the head tracking's built into the headset, all the motion tracking's built into the headset and the controllers. So those are some things to consider whenever it comes to peripherals, because that's basically what it is, with the especially for the PC. It can be considered more of a peripheral than a lot of people would think, because you still have the ability to do one or the other.
Yeah.
And games are getting better for VR. They were lackluster at first. So you've got AAA titles now that are starting to support those. So keep an eye out for that. And with those peripherals, there comes peripherals for the peripherals. because that's a whole other thing that you've got to look at, especially with the VR headsets. I have 3 different ways to strap that thing to my face, depending on what works for me.
Take
Because
note,
if
Apple.
you're going to have a gaming session with a VR headset on, you have to be comfortable, right?
True.
So you've got some that tension on the top of the crown of your head. You've got some that tensions on the forehead. You've got some that does both. You can interchange your the cushions, silicone tips for your nose. I mean, it's pretty endless what you can do. Some of them you can even get additional battery packs and put on the back of the headset to keep you wireless for longer. Which I have one of those right here. I can show you that, how it works.
Thank you. Appreciate the visuals. Always.
Yes.
You have way more than I do. That's for sure. My God.
So you can see here, this is just the Quest 2, what I was talking about. Right here, there's 2 pressure points. Those are movable. So you can move it frontward to backwards. It's independent here. You've got a dial in the back.
It's like a hard hat.
Yep. And you can pull it back and in. And then also, like I said, there's a battery pack that you can attach to this one magnetically for additional playtime and not have to take it off of the game session.
So does it, obviously it's got a internal battery pack plus the detachable.
It does have an internal battery pack.
So does it use the external one first?
Yeah. No, it'll use the internal one first.
Oh, okay.
And then it will switch over to the external. You've got your cord here, which is a USB-C that plugs into the side of the helmet or the mask there.
Okay.
Okay. And that's just going to be drawing power from the headset itself. Okay. But until you put that battery pack on there, then that's whenever it's going to use the other.
Gotcha.
That option. So whenever you're playing and if it's not charged up, then you're ready to go because it's magnetic back here. And where the plug comes from the back, it draws the power from both places. So.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. The reason why I was asking is because there are devices that I work with at work. They've got the auxiliary battery as well, but it'll pull from the spare battery and then the internal. And the reason for my question is that if you were gaming and then your spare died and you still wanted to keep playing, could you swap it out? But it sounds like it's using the internal, then the external one. So when the internal one dies, does the rear one charge the first one, or does it run off?
It charges the first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was actually running off of it. Okay.
No, it's not running off of it. It's supplying a charge to it. Once it drops down below a certain level, then it's going to recharge.
So you can hot swap them.
Right. So you can hot swap and keep playing.
Very cool.
So that's just one instance. Like I said, that's a peripheral for a peripheral. But
Peripheral all the way down.
We've got nothing but peripherals around here today.
Oh, yes.
And that's all I got.
No, it's a good roundup. I not being the consummate gamer at all, I felt I was doing pretty well that I had an Xbox controller, connected to Mac or a PC. I thought I'm set. I got everything I need. Little did I know. But you don't want to trust me with hardware because you witnessed the damage that hardware and I do not get along. We don't.
Right.
In fact, I'm surprised I've gone this far or this long without getting in a car accident. I just don't. Hardware. Yeah.
He said it.
Knock on
wood. Diana's driving for a while.
Yeah, you don't ever talk about it.
Oh God. Yeah, no, I appreciate it, and I'm sure other people will have feedback as well in terms of what you shared. And in the spirit of keeping things moving, I have my stuff. I'm going to say this stuff. Stuff just sounds so poorly. Anything can be stuff. It's stuff. It's any.
Mhm.
Okay, can I try that again? This isn't
Sure.
live, is it? It's not.
Yeah, they'll
we
fix
can-
it in post.
we can fix it in post?
will take
All right.
care of it.
Josh,
Fix that
Josh,
in post.
yeah, Josh knows. He can fix it in post. I have been fascinated with AI, and I'm going to use that term generically because first, I loved the movie AI. I really did. I guess it wasn't critically acclaimed, or at least that I know of. People didn't like it. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Still do. But when ChatGPT hit the scene about a year ago, really, it knocked me for a loop. I was just blown away with what it was that I was using because, the first time I ever did anything like that would have been back in the days of DOS, Dr. Sbatso as a synthesizer on the old PC. You'd ask it a question or you give it a prompt and then it would respond. ChatGPT was just I saw it right away. You didn't even have to tell me it was a game changer. And I said, this is a game changer. And then, started to play around with tools like Stable Diffusion and found myself enamored with the idea that I could give it a quick prompt and almost immediately, all things considered, right? I'd get an image. And I say immediately because remember, I grew up in a time where, you had film in cameras and you had to develop the film in a photo mat. And an hour later, if you were lucky, you get in that. Sometimes you'd have to take it in for a couple of days, but an hour photo mat, unheard of. So when I say a relatively quick turnaround, I was not spoiled by, instantaneous anything, including microwave ovens. Those were, relatively new back, at least when I was growing up in the 80s. So, I certainly remember our family's first microwave. So again, just trying to give you a perspective in terms of, when I talk about something like this is huge. And I'm a software advocate, always have been. So there are common tools that everybody seems to know about. There's ChatGPT, Midjourney for images. There are a few others, but I have found myself floating to certain ones that I feel are doing a better job in a certain respect. So Midjourney, I'm unfortunately paying for right now. And I say unfortunately because I remember I signed up for it. I'm like, yeah, I'll use it. This is great. I'll just go for a year. I'll be using it for a year. Well, here's the problem. Technologies and websites and services are advancing at such a rapid rate that now there are some services that do certain images better than Midjourney, which is good because competition keeps everybody healthy, right? Everybody's got to kind of, ratchet it up. But it's bad if you were paying for it and you didn't do it, monthly like I was doing for a while. I shouldn't have flipped annually. So I thought I would talk about some of the services that I have been using in recent weeks, AI services. And I think this would be, and I'm not saying tonight's the night, but I would find it fascinating for all of us to have a conversation or a topic maybe, and this may be a way we do something in an upcoming week to mix it up. Instead of sharing top 10 tips, we have a conversation topic, a specific topic that we go by, and then we go from there. Certainly if there's, a shared interest. But AI has been incredibly disruptive, whatever you want to call it, like pattern recognition, AI, whatever it is, what's happening now is powerful. And I'm certainly using it on a regular basis. So I don't know if y'all use the same amount of tools that I do. I think I don't know if I got y'all hooked on this, but I saw I saw a few of you sharing the results in chat. I'm just going to pull up. Now, I've got my tablet here. Let me dim it a tiny bit, see if that shows up a bit better. But I'll also say that the video editor folk may have a better way of rendering things in a screencast. But this is hotshot.co. And at Hotshot, what you can do is you can tell it what you want as a prompt, and it'll generate an animated GIF. These are all AI generated. So you can tell. So this is a clown drinking a can of Coca-Cola. Or this is clearly a rabbit fall. And it at first glance, you would look at that and think, man, that looks real. I'm sorry about the glare there, everybody. But like I said, I'm just this is the best way that I can handle it in this particular situation right now. But this is it's easy, it's free, it's accessible. You log in, you give it a prompt, and pretty soon you got a 2-3 second animated GIF that works wonders. And this to me is the power at our fingertips. Not perfect. Obviously, there's some weird stuff that happens with a lot of these generations, but it works well enough. And especially if you've got the patience to iterate and change and reprompt and hone in on what it is that you're looking for. But this is one of the tools that, should I need an animated GIF that I can't find that doesn't exist, I would go over to hotshot.co. Another one that I've been recommending, I recommended this to my brother, Ben, is because he was talking about, I showed him, I think at the time, I showed him Midjourney when he was visiting with his wife, my sister-in-law. I said, oh, yeah, you can generate images, print them out, show them in your class because he's a phys ed teacher. And I did not know about this tool back then, and that was just a few months ago. But this is ideogram.ai. And here, what I love about this is it's easy. You jump right in, log in. It's free. That I know of, there's really no limitations apart from like nerfing your generation time. But what's cool is I could scroll through and find an image that I like. Let's say, okay, so I like, let's say this puppy dog that's hanging out in this coffee mug. And you can see the word Dusty, or the name Dusty. What I could do is I could take that as an inspiration or a foundation and go and change the word, swap out the word Dusty with Chris or Chris Pirillo or Lockerdome or whatever, and keep generating, keep iterating until I get the image that I want. So I can base, and you could do that on Midjourney as well. But with this, it's far more user-friendly. And I would say a lot of the images that are generated are typically with words or letters. And they've done that very well. And a lot of pop culture, it's got a certain style to it that you don't necessarily get outright from Midjourney, because it's all about your language model, right? And I believe that's the correct terminology, the foundation, like your data that you're pulling from. And so it's not necessarily your prompt, it's where you are actually prompting. So I've been very happy with the cartoony style images. If I want to generate a cartoony style image on Pictogram, or sorry, not Pictogram, that's another service, ideogram.ai. And like I said,
how do you spell that?
Free. Ideogram, ideogram.ai.
I got it now.
Yeah, and you jump right in, start playing with it, and you wouldn't imagine that you needed something like this, but you do. Especially when my brother had a birthday, and so what I did was I went to Midjourney and I generated an image of him, and then wound up doing some fancy work and working it such that I was able to generate an image with his name in it. So it worked really, really well because it was a personalized kind of experience. So you got to fiddle. Like, you got to play. You got to experiment. And this is a perfect place to do it. And it's not Midjourney. I'm not going to say it's better. It's just different. The next one is it's somewhat similar. You've heard of Bing, but the thing I would really recommend with Bing, you could search and you could use it as a Google alternative, but they've got an image creator, and for a while it was okay, but then they upgraded to DALL-E 3, and it is outstanding. Like, it produces images that, I thought I could only get out of Midjourney. And there are times that, Midjourney does better. There are times that Bing does better. But here's the beauty of any of this. And y'all can still see me, right?
Yes.
I'm asking that because the screensaver kicked in. So the thing you can do with a prompt, this is the beautiful thing. I could type the prompt here, hit enter, get an image. I could type the prompt over here, get an image. Different service, different prompts. Sorry, I meant to go back over to Hotshot, or go back to Ideogram. Type the same prompt and get the same. So if you get one prompt, you can just do it on the different sites over and over and over again to get something closer to what it is that you happen to be looking for. But if you've not yet tried Bing, and this is just a generic prompt, it's not something that I've done recently, although, can I get to my history easily from here? Let's see, where's my history? Bing, the layout is not as simple. Here, I'll hit surprise me, and then it should, there we go, surprise me. It's loading, there we go, create. It surprised me with a prompt. Now I can get the history. So then I can go back and look, through older generations of art that I might have done just by taking somebody else's prompt and remixing and adding my own flair to it. So Bing does a fantastic, don't write it off because it's Bing or it's Microsoft. It was good before. It's amazing now. And that's ChatGPT. Of course, OpenAI powered DALL-E 3, but it's free and it's accessible. So it's absolutely worth using. If you've not tried it yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. I really genuinely don't. Another one, and I do a lot of, if I'm using AI, a lot of what I might use it for is imagery. This is a cool one too, especially if you happen to have a YouTube or a Twitch channel. Now it was so popular, he ended up registering its own domain, and this is emojis.sh. And what you can do here is generate AI emoji. And it looks like iPhone type emoji. You type whatever, and it'll make that emoji. Blue bear, and it made a blue bear emoji. Like, and you can download it and use it. Like, it's the simplest way of generating emoji that looks like it was done by a professional designer. And I realize it's going to piss off a lot of professional designers who are paid a lot for emoji. And I'm not saying that it wasn't worth me getting a custom emoji that I might have wanted, but I probably could have saved bank by using a service like this to get the emoji that I might have wanted back in the day. But this is an absolute, all of these are absolute must-haves, must bookmarks, must use, especially if you were interested in anything that you might not have been able to do yourself specifically in graphic design. But I love this. This is the best free emoji generator, AI emoji, over almost 1 million. I'm sorry, not quite a million. I was going to say over 900,000. Then I realized how close to 1 million it was. And this is just relaunched just a few weeks ago. That's how good it is. It is absolutely worth using. All of these certainly are. And then the last tool I have for my roundup today is Gamma. And this is kind of a shifting gears. Obviously not, well, okay, if it's not obvious, it's not an image generator. It's a website generator that allows you to start with a simple idea or even a presentation generator. Simple idea, and then you can effectively expand upon it. So I ended up using this a few months ago when I needed some kind of, let's see if I can close that. Let me just move it here. Close. Come on. Samsung sometimes, okay, just ignore the keyboard. The keyboard's going to float. But I wanted to create some kind of, not a portfolio, but basically a way to explain to people, here's what I'm interested in. Here's what I might be able to do for you. So I fleshed out these basic, bullet points. Here's, I'm a creator. I like helping creators enable and companies understand creators and their audience and community and all this stuff. And what it did, and I did do some tweaking with it afterwards, but it generated just on a few simple bullet points, a whole web page on it, an entire web page that looks like it was professionally designed, professionally written. It's perfect. And of course I went in and customized it, certainly. But out of all the website generating tools or presentation tools that I'd seen to this point, starting with a very simple outline, not knowing where you needed to go, Gamma by far has exceeded any of them in terms of accessibility, in terms of usability, in terms of quality output, in terms of onboarding, and in terms of cost. Because I was able to do like referrals after because you can generate the website, doesn't cost anything. But then the more AI generations you do, you may have to get, you pay for credits. I ended up saying, hey, here's what I did, and I got referral credits. And it does not take much to get referral credits, even, with my very limited reach. But Gamma, here, it's at gamma.app, A-P-P. And it is, like I said, what's that?
2 M's?
Yeah, Gamma, like the gamma rays that, Bruce Banner had, in his body.
Yeah,
got it.
Exactly. So that one to me is more of a productivity tool, but you could have a lot of fun with it in thinking when you're looking at a blank page and you don't know where to go with it. It's daunting. But the more you play with these types of tools, the easier it gets for you to understand that you're not just needing to stare at a blank page anymore. And I wish I had this for certain scenarios where I needed to build a web page or a presentation and just had a few scant, ideas, chicken scratch, really. That's where AI really comes in handy. With the image generation, absolutely, images for sure. But like productivity wise, that's where it's going to become a lot more transformative. I would not have been able to roll out that web page and say, hey, come and look at my website, because it wasn't perfect. I'm like, nah, it needs to be tweaked here, there, and everywhere. You got to customize it at that point. But to go from effectively 0 to 60 in no time flat is It's not something you see all that often with technology. It to me it's just we're on the precipice of a major transformation in terms of what we use, how we use it, and why. And so I'm always looking for new AI, quote unquote, AI tools that I can use and I can jump into, and happy to share. I like the ones that I love the productivity ones, certainly. Although I feel a lot of those are going to get not watered down, but diminished in value as Microsoft and Google continue to evolve, and Apple to a potential degree, evolve their own generative AI services and bake them into their platforms. But the more vertical types of services, like the AI emoji generator, for example, I don't think you're going to see the big players go after them. And that's where it gets exciting, because the market's not small enough, but it's big enough to be interesting. So yeah, there are many tools out there that aren't Mid-Journey or Chat GPT that I do use on a very regular basis when I need it, right? I don't use it just because I'm sitting down at the computer. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to make something. No, it's like, okay, I have a need to do something, whether it's, design a model for 3D printing. If I pull out, like, I used QForge after I want to say this was a Mid-Journey. This was a lot of these are Mid-Journey images. Not 3D printed, of course, in Mid-Journey. These are all flat. But I ended up baking them in desktop software called QForge. The Darth Vader pumpkin. Love this one. Just did this one. In fact, actually, I'm going to give you a bonus. This one I did. This one I really like because it's got like a leafy texture. Vader walking through like an autumn forest. The bonus I'm going to give you is a full-on mobile app, not web-based. But it's Get Remix or Remix. It's available on iOS and Android. And it's basically a social network or social media platform where all you do is basically make images. Or you take somebody else's image and you remix, right? So I can go, there's the Joker. There's a couple people standing at McDonald's. There's a monster. There's a woman. There's Prince, or the artist formerly known as Prince. Different styles, different Little Shop of Hoarders. Audrey too, a Little Shop of Horrors. But I can go, or it says a Venus flytrap there, but I can hit the remix button and then go through and generate something on top of that, and then go through various iterations, change up words. So I can say Darth Vader or Star Wars, and then it would change the remix of it, and then I would post that to my profile, and then people could remix from there. So I remix the flytrap there, or I can say, I didn't like that. I'm gonna try varying it. So I'm gonna not just re-roll, but I'm gonna add a variance to it to see if I can get it to be a little different than it was before. So you can remix, you can share to your feed, but then once it's shared to your feed, you can also download it locally, so you can save and export. And that's exactly what I did with this one. So that's something that if you're just kind of like, well, I don't know, I don't want to go to a website, I don't remember a website, and like this is so hard. It isn't hard. It really isn't. Like if it was hard, like I would be like throwing these huge caveats at you. This is so simple. Like this is so simple, and it's fun. So if you were always wondering what it would be like to just post images that you could generate, it doesn't get any easier than Remix. It is a full-on stem to stern remixing platform for you to potentially connect with other people by way of you generate something really cool. And that's scraping the surface in terms of what Remix does. But like I said, I'm always looking for these types of tools and I find them absolutely fascinating, transformative. And there are many that I've heard of, but probably more that I haven't. A lot of them are behind, paywalls, and I tend to steer away from those because I'm like, well, if it's fun, it's fun. If I need it, like it's an absolute, a productivity boon, then I'm probably going to pay for it. But a lot of these tools right now aren't necessarily, unless it's like super, super targeted in terms of what you need to do and what it can do for you. A lot of this stuff can be done after logging in, usually a free login. I always look at the pricing information up front. Like, do I want to try this? I'm always looking for different audio types of tools, like for not just remixing, but processing. Adobe's got a good free podcasting tool that you can use.
Yes, I have incorporated that in my practical work last week. I've always used for audio cleanup the Isotope plugins, and they do a fairly good job at it. But in order to get your signal very, very clear, you end up sounding like Alpha 5 from the first season of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's just like a total robot. And I tried. They gave me this project with the production audio with no possibility of ADR. Fix it. I tried every trick in the book, and I ended up Googling it. And Adobe came to my rescue. And if it wasn't up for that, I don't think I would have made rent this month.
It's crazy. I think the free version has up to a half hour for audio processing. I haven't used it because if I needed it, I would have needed more time. And I'm like, I don't process audio enough to justify that additional cost. But if you're looking for an audio processing tool, Adobe.
I was covered because since I got my login, my Google login information from the university I work for, and they are subscribed to everything that Adobe has to offer to a university. I love it. I really love it. I was so impressed.
I'm telling you. So even I knew, even not being an audio guy, I knew up front, like that's the one. That just seems like that is Adobe. I don't think is going to put its name on it unless it was like
it still needed a little bit of tweaking.
Sure, like it, but like anything, it's just that it gets you 95% of the way there. And then give it to an expert, right? And then they could take it all the way through.
It made it so much easier.
Yeah, and I'm like I said, I'm enamored with the whole AI thing. I'm hopeful for the future. I don't think it's going to replace everybody. That actually may, and I would love to get CNIP on if we do a talk about this kind of stuff, because I think CNIP would be really, really good for these deeper conversations to have around it. I don't want to get into it today. Philosophically speaking, AI replacing people, replacing jobs, careers, etc. Yeah. But it's definitely disruptive for sure.
Yeah.
Anything else to add, folks? Go ahead.
That's what I was thinking about which I'm like really amazed about what it's doing the Gamma AI tool.
Yeah.
From my point of view, if I am talking completely selfishly, I love it. Especially everyone's its own particular case, but I am this close to being an entire hermit. And I love doing what I do, but the human interactions scare the living.
Yeah.
You know? So, but then in the other hand, trying to be as fair as I can be, do I smell another strike this time by web developers in this case? Even though I understand that the sense of the copywriting based on your input cannot be matched to my understanding, and as little or as far as I've used AI tools, but the more detailed and more information you give it, it's very hard for a human being to compete with that. So you are ethically in this between a rock and a hard place. And that's my concern. Other than that, the tools are great and useful AF. But then,
But you that's the thing is, you can't push the horse back into the barn. I'm probably paraphrasing there, but like it's out.
No, I gotcha.
Yeah,
you can't. We're done like that. You can't go back. There's zero chance of this not existing, and that's disruptive. That's incredibly disruptive. Which, you know, if you had a career that was contingent on something that these programs can replace, it's that much more difficult.
Yeah, I can identify myself as one of them, because one of the many jobs I do, it's like creating jingles for morning radio shows and stuff based on popular music, which I just change around the lyrics to mention the station, the show, the host, the time, and ironically, that's one of the parts of my job which I enjoy the most. Just sitting down with a notebook and listening to the voiceless track, rhyming and fun. Last 2 projects I've been contracted to make like that, I've just recorded because I go to OpenAI and I said, I need a funny lyric short based on, I don't know, X song by Bruno Mars. And it's got to mention this radio station, these are the hosts, and this is the airtime. And it comes up, I may have to revise it like 1 or twice at the most, but at the end of it, there's no way I could ever write anything as good as that result.
Yeah.
So I say the counter statement and bite my own tongue at the same time because I see its potential. We have to adapt.
It's coming.
I tell people that are nervous about AI taking over jobs, it will take over some jobs. I'm not saying it won't. It will have an impact, right? But the people that are scared of AI, whether it be they don't know what it is or they've only heard about it on the news in a bad way, I always tell people, think of it as a tool. It's purely a tool. It can excel so many different things, whether it be science industry, technology, research, development, whatever it may be. It's a tool that's supposed to be paired with the end user. There will be industry impacted. Obviously, we're not going to get into that now, but it's an advancement and it's already out. You can't take it back. And at this point, it's a tool. People are going to use it. And I think it's a good thing in a nutshell. And then I kind of wanted to touch real quick, Chris, on your talk about different AIs. We've done this back in the stream and even way back as early as like February when we were all really deep into playing around with different versions of ChatGPT and whatnot. Personally, for image generation, I have used ChatGPT to help me to build the prompt for the image, and then I'll copy that prompt and paste that into DALL-E or something like that. So I might have an idea of an image, but I don't have the exact
prompt.
I won't say imagination. Right, the exact in-depth prompt, or what are some keywords that I might miss? And because you can't write a paragraph or a book saying what you want, so ChatGPT might spit out 2 paragraphs. It's like, all right, condense that to a paragraph. All right, now condense that to 3 sentences. Now take out this, but add this, and do this, do that. Once you get a prompt that you like, you paste that into DALL-E, and you just keep hitting generate, and it's flawless. It's good.
Well, I as much as I would love to continue, I'm not AI, and it's bedtime.
It's midnight here already, and I have an 8 a.m. class to teach tomorrow.
So I'm the only West Coaster, so I'm trying to be mindful of time. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining once again tonight.
Dream come true, man.
No worries. We're here for the podcast recording every Monday, right around this time. Hopefully starting a little earlier next week. Today I was a little backed up because I had to travel from a meeting. But thank you once again, everybody, for tuning in, for listening, everyone for showing up with a lot of help. Very dense session that we had tonight. But as I noted before, typically we're hanging out. It's a 24/7 stream over on Twitch, live.perillo.com. And mostly people start coming in the evening, or more people and conversations kick up in and around the evening times. And that said, there are times during the day that, people are hanging out and chatting too. So you never really know. That was the idea behind turning live.perillo.com back on again and streaming on Twitch 24/7. So thanks again, everybody. I love you. I appreciate you. And at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices, and may the force be with you always. And that's a wrap.